Chapter 1. It was a new book, still in the city, and still had the same taste. After 2 months of preparation, the new book was finally completed. He had put in so much effort for this book, and it was a long story. The strongest counterattack. What kind of story was it about? It was very simple, just like the title of the book. It was a story about how an ordinary person counterattacked and became a hero. It was a story about how a man established himself in this impetuous society. It was a story about a man's responsibility, bearing, shrewdness, and so on. Before Ruo Min finished writing, the story had already taken shape in his heart. For this, he had collected a lot of material. I will do my best to write this book well, and I hope it will not disappoint you. I have been writing for a few years, and I have written 2 books. But every time I start a new book, I will feel uneasy. I don't know how the book will turn out, and I will always worry about gains and losses. So, I hope that everyone will support this new book. All I can do is write this book well, and let more people like it. I know that because I was sloppy and did whatever I wanted in the past, I have disappointed many people, and I have also hurt your hearts. Here, I apologize to all of you. I am no longer a greenhorn. I know how to walk my own path, and I know how to do my own things. So, this book will definitely not disappoint you. I have made a lot of friends by writing books, and I hope to make more friends through the strongest counterattack. A part of my journey has passed, and a new one is about to begin. I will wait for all of you here, and I look forward to meeting all of you. I look forward to having more friends join me, and I hope that you will accompany me to the end of this journey. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 2. It's a new journey. I'm waiting for you here. I'm looking forward to meeting you by chance. Zhongnan Mountain, the best cave in the world. It was said that there were tens of thousands of people living in seclusion in Zhongnan Mountain. There were all kinds of people from all walks of life, including many hidden masters. At this time, at the foot of Zhongnan Mountain near Liguantai, a man with a messy beard was standing in front of a grave without a tombstone. If there was a master who knew geomancy, he would definitely be shocked after seeing the layout of this grave. What kind of person dared to choose this place? Grandpa, I'm back, the man said quietly with his head down. His name was Qin Sheng, 26 years old, 8 meters tall, not handsome, but pleasing to the eye. Then he poured a bottle of Shifeng 375, which only sold for 20 yuan, in front of his grandfather's grave. His grandfather loved this kind of wine and drank a bottle every day. It had been 2 years. Qin Sheng had left this city, known as the ancient capital of 13 dynasties, for 2 years. Now he could finally come back. 2 years ago, when he had just graduated from university, his grandfather died of old age at the age of 89. Before he died, his grandfather told him not to come back for 2 years. From then on, Qin Sheng followed his grandfather's last wish and traveled all over the country to search for famous mountains and great rivers. He would never forget what he had experienced in the past 2 years. He had saved his life from the gates of hell many times. Grandpa, I'm going to Shanghai tomorrow. I'll come back to see you during the new year. You have to take care of yourself, Qin Sheng said casually after clearing the weeds on the grave. In fact, Qin Sheng had a lot of questions he wanted to ask his grandfather. But now that he had passed away, there was no need for these questions. For example, he was not from Xin. He only knew that he was brought here by his grandfather when he was 4 years old. Since then, he had taken root here. As for where he was from and who his parents were, he did not know anything. He had asked his grandfather before, but his grandfather never said anything. He only said that he would know when the time came. After chatting with his grandfather for a while, Qin Sheng left. He had just come back, but he had to leave tomorrow. He still had to meet some friends. When Qin Sheng left, 2 men who had been hiding in the woods not far away slowly walked out. Master, are you sure you don't want to see him? The tall and sturdy man with murderous eyes asked the middle-aged man beside him respectfully. The middle-aged man was wearing a relatively comfortable linen shirt and cloth shoes. His body was slightly bent, and there were already many wrinkles on his face. The hair on his temples was also slightly white. He did not speak, but he was not angry. He squinted at Qin Sheng, who was walking away, and then looked at the inconspicuous grave next to him. Gone. I want to know what kind of monster the old man can cultivate." The middle-aged man sneered. It took 20 minutes to walk from the foot of the mountain to the road. However, before Qin Sheng could walk out, he was stopped by 3 strangers. These 3 people obviously did not come with good intentions. "Young man, hand over that thing, and we can let you go." The leader of the group laughed disdainfully as he played with a dagger in his hand. "From Sichuan to Xinjiang, from Xinjiang to Qinghai, from Qinghai to Xi'an, aren't you tired?" Qin Sheng chuckled. "Don't talk nonsense with us, or you know the consequences." Qin Sheng sighed and said, "How many times have I told you that the thing of the Song family is not with me? Why don't you believe me? Is there still trust between people?" "It seems that we can only fight," the man said angrily. Qin Sheng felt that it was very boring, and he was too lazy to explain. He said directly, "Come on, if you can fight, try not to talk." When the 3 men heard such sarcastic words, they directly rushed toward Qin Sheng without saying anything. "Do you all think I'm useless?" The corner of Qin Sheng's mouth rose slightly. If it were not for his grandfather asking him to keep a low profile, he would have already killed these few followers. Now that the time mentioned by his grandfather had passed, there was no need for him to keep a low profile in the future. After all, if he was used to being looked down by others, they would really think that he was useless. When the man in the front was in front of him, Qin Sheng kicked his wrist and took the cold steel dagger in his hand. He bent down to avoid the sneak attack from behind, and then he stabbed the dagger into the man's thigh. The 2 men behind him had already followed up. Qin Sheng calmly dodged their continuous attacks and looked for an opportunity to directly hit the chest of the man on the left with his elbow. This elbow was strong and heavy, and the man directly broke 2 of his ribs. He took the opportunity to jump high and directly hit the side of the man's waist with his knee. At this time, the dagger in the hand of the man on the right had already attacked Qin Sheng's back. Qin Sheng seemed to have eyes in the back of his head. He turned around and dodged. With sharp eyes and quick hands, he directly grabbed the man's wrist and stabbed the dagger into the shoulder of the man on the left. Finally, he punched the chin of the man on the right. This punch directly knocked the man out, but he did not stop there. He pulled out the dagger and stabbed the arm of the man on the right again. In just a few minutes, the battle was easily over. Qin Sheng was not injured at all. The 3 men had already lost their fighting power and were no longer a threat to him. "I'm not useless. Why don't you believe me?" "Come on, take out your phones," Qin Sheng said with a cheeky smile. The 3 men who were seriously injured stared at Qin Sheng in confusion. They did not know what Qin Sheng wanted to do. They did not expect this guy to be so fierce. Didn't they say that he was weak? Who the hell said that? You don't want to take it? Then I'll do it myself. Qin Sheng snorted coldly. Then he personally searched the 3 men's phones. With the phones in his hands, Qin Sheng muttered, "Damn it, I'm still using the old Nokia. You guys are all using the iPhone 6S. You guys are really rich." After saying this, Qin Sheng threw the phones on the ground in the surprised eyes of the 3 men. Then he gathered his strength and stepped on the phones with all his strength. As he stepped, he scolded, "Who asked you to chase me? Who asked you to chase me?" Soon, the 3 phones were completely destroyed by Qin Sheng. The 3 men wanted to cry, but had no tears. They even had the heart to die. In this damn wilderness, if no one saved them, sooner or later they would bleed to death. After doing these things, Qin Sheng swaggered away, leaving the 3 men who cursed 18 generations of Qin Sheng's ancestors in their hearts. After leaving the Zhongnan Mountains, Qin Sheng tidied himself up, shaved his beard, and changed his clothes. When he returned to the city, it was already afternoon. Qin Sheng was going to a community in the southern suburbs. His benefactors lived there. He had lived in this family since he was in primary school. He regarded the 2 elders in this family as his biological parents. If it was not for his grandfather's permission, perhaps he would have recognized them as his godparents. "Shenger, you're finally back. Where have you been these 2 years? Do you know that we were worried to death?" As soon as Qin Sheng entered the door, he was hugged by a middle-aged woman and cried bitterly. Qin Sheng did not know how to explain. He knew that the woman regarded him as her biological son, so he hugged her and let her vent her emotions. After a long time, the woman recovered and pulled Qin Sheng to sit down. She knew that Qin Sheng would come back, so she had prepared a table of food. "Aunt, I know what happened at home. How are you? How is Uncle Lin?" Qin Sheng said calmly. He knew that in the 2 years he was away, the family almost collapsed. Uncle Lin was set up, and then the company was taken over by outsiders. His family was almost ruined. "Sheng, your Uncle Lin has a hard life." Speaking of this, Wang Li cried again. Qin Sheng felt a little guilty. Although they were not his biological parents, he had long been integrated into this family. As a member of this family, as the only man apart from Uncle Lin, he had to resist the pressure at that time. And it's okay. Just treat it as spending money to avoid disaster. Grandpa said a long time ago that Uncle Lin would have a disaster in his middle age. I think he knew it himself. But as long as he is alive, there is still hope. Qin Sheng comforted Aunt Wang. "Your Uncle Lin is fine. These things are nothing to him." Wang Li wiped her tears and shook her head. Qin Sheng continued. "What's more, I'm back now. I'll find a way to help Uncle Lin." "Sheng, you can't help much with your Uncle Lin. Don't torture yourself. As long as you and Xin are fine, I'll feel at ease." Wang Li did not take Qin Sheng's words seriously. Qin Sheng was just an ordinary child, while old Lin was involved in a bigger issue. What could he do? "Oh, Aunt, where is Xin going to college?" Qin Sheng asked with concern. Xin was the only daughter of Uncle Lin and Annie Wang. She was a few years younger than Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng had always treated her as his younger sister. "You studied in Shanghai, so she went there too." Annie Wang did not know whether to laugh or cry. Qin Sheng said happily, "Shanghai? That's good. I'll go to Shanghai tomorrow. I can take care of Xin in the future." "You're leaving right after coming back?" Annie Wang said in surprise. Qin Sheng accompanied Annie Wang for dinner. The taste was still the same as before. When he ate the 8 treasure chili bread, Qin Sheng's eyes were already red. He only had a grandfather and no parents. Others said that he was an orphan, but he could only find the feeling of home here. Grandpa said, "You don't have to say who has helped you. Just remember it in your heart. When they need you, stand up." Therefore, whoever bullied Uncle Lin's family, Qin Sheng would pay them back sooner or later. After dinner, Qin Sheng left the Lin family and came to a barbecue square on North Yantai Road. There was a barbecue place in Chuanan. The barbecue meat was very delicious. Every time he came back in the past, he would come here with a few of his buddies. Qin Sheng arrived early. He called his 4 buddies. Everyone was surprised at his reappearance, but only 2 of them could come. Qin Sheng had nothing to say about it. He knew that life was always getting further and further away. Many things would never return to the past. "Old Qin, damn it, we all thought you went missing. Where have you been for the past 2 years?" His 2 buddies arrived at the same time. The one who spoke was Mengzhe. He was very handsome. They used to call him a gigolo. "Damn it, when you called me, I thought it was a liar. I didn't expect it to be you." Hao Lei cursed. He used to be a soldier and was demobilized some time ago. He was tall and a little thin. "Sit down. Some things are hard to explain." Qin Sheng hugged his 2 buddies and said with a smile. After the 3 of them sat down, Hao Lei directly shouted, "Waiter, 3 boxes of 9 degrees, 20 yuan of meat, 20 yuan of tendon, 20 yuan of kidney, 3 deep-fried pancakes, a grilled eggplant, and a vegetarian dish." "Let's get drunk tonight," Mengzhe said happily. People needed to drink in life. But only when they drank with the right people could they enjoy themselves and be happy. If they drank with boring people, it would just be drinking, which was not interesting at all. So Qin Sheng said happily, "Damn it, I'm not afraid of you. Let's get drunk." The 3 of them clinked their glasses 3 times and began to chat. "How have you been in the past 2 years?" Qin Sheng asked. "I just got demobilized and haven't found a job yet. Lao Meng is engaged and will probably get married next year." "Don't disappear then," Hao Lei said with a smile. "How about them?" Qin Sheng continued to ask. Lao Meng sighed and said, "Lao Su and Wu Yong are not the same as us now. You probably called them. We only see each other a few times a year." "You know what I want to say?" Qin Sheng said with some emotion. "Then let's not talk about it. Let's drink. Come on, let's drink." It was just October, so the weather was still a little hot. The barbecue square was very lively. Everyone was eating meat and drinking wine. They laughed and cursed at life. It was a familiar place and a familiar feeling. Qin Sheng felt that everything was really good. Lao Qin, what happened to you in the past 2 years? Tell me. Let's talk about it later. Anyway, everything is fine. Boy, what's your plan in the future? The train is at 1 o'clock. After drinking with you, I will go to Shanghai. I will develop in Shanghai in the future, Qin Sheng explained. He had nothing to hide from his best friends. Shanghai. It seems that Su Qin is also staying in Shanghai. Lao Meng, shut up. Hearing this, Hao Lei quickly stopped him. Meng also realized that he had said something wrong. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, Nothing. Just say what you want to say. It's all in the past. Let's drink. Don't talk nonsense. Before finishing the 3 boxes of wine, the 3 of them left. After all, Qin Sheng had to take the train later, and the others had something to do tomorrow. Qin Sheng took a taxi to the train station. He did not have much luggage. Sitting in the taxi, Qin Sheng, who was drunk and hazy, looked at the night view of the city through the car window. The mottled city walls told the story of time, and the familiar road names had changed. This city was like an old man in his twilight years, watching the changes of the times with cold eyes. Chapter 3. The status of the new book hasn't changed yet. Don't worry if you want to reward me. Please give me a red vote and bookmark it. Thank you. Qin Sheng liked to take the train instead of the plane. It was not because of acrophobia or other reasons. It was because he could see the scenery and local customs along the way. Sometimes it was charming. He could also observe the passers-by from all over the country and look for interesting people. In fact, the most important reason was that he had no money to take the plane. The journey took 17 hours. Qin Sheng bought a hard sleeper. In the carriage were several students who returned to school after the National Day holiday. They were all students from several northwestern provinces. They chattered about all kinds of good things about the big city of Shanghai. It seemed that several of them said they would not go back after graduation. This reminded Qin Sheng of when he went to university in Shanghai. He also took the train. He was also full of curiosity and expectation about everything. It was also the first time he went out of the province. He carried his luggage alone and walked like this for 4 years. What was Qin Sheng's final conclusion after staying in Shanghai for 4 years? That was, the good was better and the bad was worse. Most people survived, not lived. After waking up, Qin Sheng chatted with those children. The schools they went to were all good. They must be the top students from those places. Only by studying could they have a better future. Nowadays, many people said that studying was useless. However, in Qin Sheng's eyes, studying was the best way out for most ordinary people. It might not make you rich or get a good job, but it could make you have more and better choices in the future. It could also make you meet a better version of yourself. No matter the books you read, the roads you walked, the people you met, and the things you experienced, good or bad, they would eventually settle down and blossom. But most of the time, Qin Sheng did not like noise. He would only sit on the seat in the aisle and enjoy the scenery outside in a hurry. When he arrived in Shanghai, it was already evening and the sky was slightly dark. Stepping on this land again, Qin Sheng took a deep breath of the air that was no longer pure. It had been almost 3 years since he left here. Those people, those things, and those memories came into his mind again. Qin Sheng really wanted to say, how good it would be if life was only like the first time we met. Shanghai, I'm back. Qin Sheng shouted loudly. The passers-by stared at Qin Sheng as if he was crazy. Qin Sheng did not care about this. He never cared about what others thought of him. His grandfather had said that Shanghai was his place of prosperity. Qin Sheng wondered if he could make a name for himself here. From the train station, he took the bus straight to his destination, the Thompson Golf Villa located next to Longdong Avenue in Pudong. He was going to meet an old friend, which could be considered as a promise to him. Although he had attended university in Shanghai for 4 years, he had basically never been to this city. If his grandfather had not told him that his blessed land was in Shanghai, he would definitely not return to this city. Thompson Golf Resort was one of the most expensive mansions in Shanghai. Those who were able to live in Pudong were the best in the city. Qin Sheng wanted to meet one of them. He took a taxi to the entrance of Thompson Golf. After the security guard informed him, a bodyguard came out to take him, and not long after. Qin Sheng did not say anything along the way. A few minutes later, they finally arrived at the villa of the old friend. It was a 3-story mansion of nearly 1,000 square meters. The villa was surrounded by walls and iron railings, and there was a private garden and swimming pool inside. At this moment, the villa was brightly lit. When Qin Sheng entered, he happened to meet an old man who was slightly bowing and cleaning the flowers and plants. The bodyguard lowered his head slightly and said, "Mr. Wu." Qin Sheng also lowered his head slightly. The old man only glanced at Qin Sheng and lost interest. When Qin Sheng was taken into the villa, the bodyguard pointed to a room not far away and said, "Master Han is waiting for you in the study." Qin Sheng smiled and thanked him, then went straight to the study. He knocked on the door, waiting. After a while, a middle-aged man's deep voice came from inside. "Come in." Qin Sheng pushed the door and entered. The study was filled with smoke, which was so choking that people could not open their eyes. People who did not know what was going on might think that there was a fire. A slightly fat middle-aged man with gray hair was smoking on the sofa. The ashtray was full of cigarette butts, and there were many on the ground. "Little Qin, you finally came." After the middle-aged man raised his head and saw Qin Sheng, he was stunned for a moment. He pinched the cigarette, and quickly stood up, walking to Qin Sheng and laughing. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "Uncle Han, it should be 1 year and 3 months since we parted at Kunlun Mountain, right? You said that you would definitely come to Shanghai in the future and look for me at that time. After such a long time, I thought you were fooling me. I didn't expect that you would really come." The man who Qin Sheng called Uncle Han laughed and said. Qin Sheng was pulled to sit on the sofa by him. He picked up the teapot and poured tea for them before the man did. He said, "Uncle Han, you said that if a man can't do it, he should not make promises easily. Young people don't understand honesty, but it is more important to a person in the future. What's more, you saved half my life. You." Uncle Han pointed at Qin Sheng and did not know whether to laugh or cry. "When did you arrive?" "I just got off the train." Uncle Han patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, "You are still so honest. I've been a bit too busy these days. Let's find some time to welcome you." Uncle Han's original name was Han Guoping. As for what he did, Qin Sheng had never found out. Anyway, he said that he was a businessman. It was just that when he traveled north and south of the Yangtze River, they met in Kunlun Mountain by chance. They wanted to go to the same place, so they went together. Qin Sheng might be too young and inexperienced. If it were not for Han Guoping, he might have been killed by the avalanche. "Uncle Han, did something happen to you? If there is anything I can help you with, just tell me." Qin Sheng and Han Guoping got along well. They were friends despite their age difference. That was why he came to see Han Guoping as soon as he arrived in Shanghai. Han Guoping sighed and lit another cigarette. He said just a small thing. "Everyone's life is full of ups and downs." But then he said, "Since you asked, little Qin, I may really need your help with something. Is it convenient for you?" "Uncle Han, please say it," Qin Sheng said seriously. Han Guoping passed a cigarette to Qin Sheng and lit it up when Qin Sheng refused. He said, "I offended an enemy recently. He's been targeting me. I'm afraid that he will take it out on my daughter. So I want you to protect her until the storm is over." Han Guoping seemed to be calm, but Qin Sheng could hear the tension behind his words. He said thoughtfully, "Uncle Han, do you trust me? And does she agree? In this life, I have misjudged a few people, but I think I will not misjudge you. When the storm is over, you can come to me. As for her, you don't have to worry about her. I will tell her that I found her an assistant." Han Guoping said calmly. He looked very haggard and his eyes were bloodshot. At this time, someone knocked on the door. It was the housekeeper of the villa. He lowered his head and said, "Uncle Han, the guest is here. Invite him to the study and ask Han Bing to come over." "I have something to tell her," Han Guoping said calmly. After the housekeeper left, he said to Qin Sheng, "Little Qin, I still have something to do, so I can't accompany you. You just got off the train, so you must not have eaten dinner. There are ready-made things in the kitchen. Or, if you want to eat something, ask them to make it for you. I will look for you when my daughter comes." Qin Sheng nodded and left with a smile. In the dining room, The nanny made some dishes and a few steam buns for him. This was exactly what Qin Sheng wanted. He liked steamed buns instead of rice. Coincidentally, Han Guoping was also from the Northwest, so he also liked to eat steamed buns. Usually, Qin Sheng would eat like a whirlwind, but today he ate slowly. At the same time, he looked at everyone in the villa. Whether it was the bodyguards or the nannies, he would not let anyone go. This was a habit that he had developed since he was able to survive. If he was lax towards any stranger, he could become a fatal threat. This meal, Qin Sheng ate for half an hour, until a tall and sexy beauty walked into the villa. Only then did he put down his bowl and chopsticks. It seemed that this beauty was Uncle Han's daughter, Han Bing. He did not expect her to be such a beautiful woman. It was no wonder that Uncle Han was so worried. Any man in front of her would have their blood boiling, not to mention those outlaws who lick their lives on the edge of a knife. It's so late. Why is the old man looking for me? It's so annoying, Han Bing mumbled unhappily after she walked into the villa. She had shoulder-length short hair, a gray tight t-shirt with black shorts, and a pair of cool sandals. She had a Bulgari serpenti pendant necklace around her neck, a limited edition St. Valentin red heart wristwatch with amber and diamonds on her wrist, and a St. Roland bag on her back. A real super rich beauty. Not long after this rich beauty went upstairs, the nanny came down and called out to Qin Sheng, "Master wants you to go up." When Qin Sheng walked into the study, he heard Han Bing shouting, "I don't want any bodyguards. You are interfering with my privacy. Don't talk so much nonsense with me. I'm your father. If you don't want an assistant, fine. I will immediately withdraw my investment from your company, freeze all your credit cards, take back your car and house, for now, and you will obediently stay at home," Han Guoping said angrily. Qin Sheng came in at this time. Han Guoping immediately smiled and said, Come, Qin Sheng, this is my daughter, Han Bing. You two get to know each other." "Qin Sheng, nice to meet you." Qin Sheng took the initiative to extend his hand, but Han Bing did not have the intention to shake hands with Qin Sheng at all. The situation was a little awkward, but Qin Sheng could understand and retracted his hand resentfully. "Han Bing lives in Huaran 9 Mile Bund. I have a house in the Shermau Riviera Garden opposite. I'll ask the butler to give you the keys later. There's nothing lacking in the house. This way, it'll be convenient for you to pick her up. Go look for the butler. I'll have a few more words with her." Han Bing was a little embarrassed. "She has a bad temper. I've spoiled her since she was young. I'm sorry for letting you see her like this." Qin Sheng went out to find the butler, and Han Guoping continued to have a heart-to-heart talk with his spoiled daughter. When Qin Sheng got the key and money from the butler, Han Bing had already come down from the study. When she saw Qin Sheng, she immediately shouted, "Lackey, let's go. Send me back." The butler did not know whether to laugh or cry, but Qin Sheng was not angry. It was too degrading to be calculative with a fair, rich, and beautiful girl who had not completely grown up from her father. Han Bing's car was a bright red Maserati Gran Turismo. After she went out, she directly gave the key to Qin Sheng, then sat in the front passenger seat and stared at Qin Sheng with a smile. Qin Sheng had almost never driven such a luxury car, but he maintained his calm. After pondering for a moment, he started the car and followed closely to the bund. Han Bing held her breath and glared at Qin Sheng. Along the way, the two of them had nothing to say. After arriving at Huaran 9 Mile Bund, Qin Sheng escorted Han Bing into the door. Han Bing said fiercely, "Pick me up tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. If you are late by even a second, scram." Then she slammed the door. Qin Sheng helplessly smiled bitterly and shook his head, then left. After going downstairs, he did not drive back to Shermau Riviera Garden. Instead, he threw the Maserati by the side of the road, then directly took a taxi to the Bund Huangpu River. In Qin Sheng's eyes, if a man had a bit of ambition, then he should go to Beijing to walk all over Chang'an Avenue, come to Shanghai to see both sides of the Bund. At that time, it would be able to arouse the deepest desire in his heart. Did Qin Sheng have ambition? Yes. Did he have desire? Yes. He felt that if a man did not live a wonderful life and could not stand a certain height, then his life was really wasted. Everyone had the right to choose their life. Perhaps many people were willing to live an ordinary life, But Qin Sheng did not want to be ordinary. On the left was the luxury of the Bund, and on the right was the debauchery of those high-rise buildings in Pudong. Standing by the Huangpu River, Qin Sheng lit a cigarette, took a deep breath, and then slowly exhaled the smoke. Chapter 4. New books need collections, and red votes the most. Also, if anyone has any comments, please leave them in the book review section and circle. Thank you. If someone happened to hear this, they would either think that he was crazy or despise him in their hearts. You? Most of the powerful big shots did not think that they would be able to achieve meteoric success before they stood out. Only when they really stood at the top of the mountain would they acknowledge them. Time would give the final answer to many things. Maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years. Therefore, Qin Sheng did not care what others said or thought. This road was full of thorns and dangers, but Qin Sheng had already made up his mind. Even if his body was crushed, he would still go forward. After smoking this cigarette, Qin Sheng left the Bund. One day, there would be a place for him here. At that time, he would not be standing here and looking up, but standing on the top of the Shanghai Center building and looking down. Returning to Huarun 9 Mile Bund, Qin Sheng drove the bright red Maserati back to Shermao Riviera Garden. After a few searches, he finally found the building he was in. When he entered the door and turned on the lights, Qin Sheng felt that it was good to be rich. When he was rich, he would also buy such a luxurious house. When he stood on the balcony and saw the scenery of the Bund, Qin Sheng was even more determined. On this trip to Shanghai, Qin Sheng really did not bring anything. Everything had to be bought tomorrow. Fortunately, there were daily necessities here, so he did not have to worry about it. Lying on a long and soft bed, Qin Sheng slept a little uncomfortably. He began to think about his current situation. Han Guoping should be a big shot. Otherwise, he wouldn't be living in that rich and expensive Thompson Golf Resort. However, Han Guoping should be in big trouble. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in such a bad shape. He wasn't as calm as he was when they first met. What kind of person could make Han Guoping so difficult? What kind of trouble did Han Guoping encounter? Could he get through it? These were all things Qin Sheng needed to know, because it was related to his first step in Shanghai. If Han Guoping was willing to train him, then his first step would be easier and he would have a higher starting point than others. If he could not get through it, then he could only find another way out. But right now, the most important thing for him was to protect Han Bing. Damn it, it's really a headache, Qin Sheng said helplessly. However, he could only comfort himself with the thought that he could get along with beautiful women day and night. Early in the morning, Qin Sheng got up early and ran 2 laps around the neighborhood. After finishing his breakfast, he bought some snacks for the little devil. It was only 8 o'clock when he drove the car downstairs. Before 8:30, Han Bing really went downstairs. As long as it's not too out of line, I agree. But if you force me to do something, I won't do it. Qin Sheng squinted his eyes and said, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in you." Han Bing said disdainfully, "What's your phone number and we chat? If there's anything, I'll inform you." Qin Sheng took out his precious Nokia and said, "I'll call you with my phone number. I don't have WeChat. I can't use this phone." When she saw this antique Nokia phone, Han Bing finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. She pointed at Qin Sheng and laughed until her stomach hurt. You? Did you come from the deep mountains? What era is it now? You're still using Nokia. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. I can't take it anymore. Qin Sheng's phone was also a smartphone in the past. It was just that when he was traveling, he sold his phone for money and got the cheapest old Nokia phone. Didn't Han Guoping give you money? After you send me to the company, go change to a better phone. At least you can use WeChat. Han Bing still couldn't help but laugh. She then looked at Qin Sheng and said, "Then buy a few clothes that are of a higher class. Don't go out and embarrass me." Qin Sheng was too lazy to care about Han Bing, who was laughing at him. He knew that most of these rich kids were not bad at heart. It was just that they were spoiled in this kind of living environment. If they could not grow up, there would always be times when they would suffer. If they grew up, they would wake up and know how stupid they were in the past. Therefore, there was no need for him to be angry with Han Bing. When they arrived at Han Bing's company, Han Bing went in first. When she got out of the car, everyone was shocked. It was the first time they saw a man send Han Bing to work. They all thought it was Han Bing's boyfriend. Qin Sheng parked the car and went to buy coffee for Han Bing. He also bought a piece of cake. After asking the company's employees, Qin Sheng went straight to Han Bing's office. Everyone was stunned. No one stopped him and asked if he had an appointment. He knocked on the door and directly put the coffee and cake on the table. Without saying a word, Qin Sheng turned around and left. As expected, when Qin Sheng walked out of the three-story building, the dozens of people in the company all exploded. Han Bing did not understand what was going on. He went out and drove straight to the nearest shopping mall. Qin Sheng did not wantonly waste money just because it was the Han family's money. He only bought a few clothes that would not embarrass Han Bing, including 2 suits. Just like that, he spent a few thousand yuan, which made his heart ache. It was easy to go from simplicity to extravagance, but it was difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. He knew that it was not easy to earn money. Since university, he had been working all kinds of part-time jobs outside. Every yuan was saved by himself. Not to mention, he had traveled all over the country for the past 2 years. He knew the pain of not having money even more. When Qin Sheng returned to the company again, Han Bing had already understood that she had been made a fool of by Qin Sheng. So she pulled Qin Sheng to the hall and said, "Everyone stop what you are doing. Let me introduce him to everyone. He is Qin Sheng, my personal assistant. In the future, no matter what you need help with, you can let him do it. All right, continue working." At this moment, Qin Sheng's face was full of confusion. He knew that his hard days were coming. Sure enough, many people knew what Han Bing meant. They deliberately found a lot of things for Qin Sheng to do, such as buying some food and drinks or carrying a few buckets of water from downstairs. The only thing left was this picture that I don't know how to draw. Handsome, give me some inspiration. On this day, Qin Sheng had a really F***king hard time. When Han Bing started working, she really did not care about her life. She did not even eat lunch at noon. She kept on having meetings, then meeting clients, and scolding people. When Qin Sheng passed by, he was also shocked. This beauty's temper was really not ordinary. The group of subordinates were scolded by her. After work at night, everyone had left. Han Bing was the only one working overtime. Qin Sheng's stomach was growling with hunger, but Han Bing still did not have the intention to leave. Finally, Qin Sheng could not take it anymore. He directly pushed the door and said, "If there is anything, do it after dinner. If it is not important, then do it tomorrow. You don't have to care about my matters. Just wait for me outside." Han Bing replied without raising her head. Qin Sheng deliberately revealed a lewd smile and stared at Han Bing. At the same time, he licked his lips and said, "A man and a woman alone in a room. If I do something now, there should be no one who can stop me. What do you want to do?" There was only her and Qin Sheng in the empty 3-story building. Han Bing was indeed a little scared. After all, she had only known Qin Sheng for less than a day. Qin Sheng sneered, "If you listen to me, I won't do anything. If you don't, then I don't know." Han Bing knew that Qin Sheng was deliberately causing trouble. Anyway, she was a little tired. She would continue to do this when she got home. She could not bear to see this lackey annoyed. She packed her things and turned off the lights. Han Bing locked the door, and Qin Sheng went to get the car. When Qin Sheng walked out of the small building, he immediately noticed that something was wrong, because 2 men slowly walked towards them. Qin Sheng did not look back and reached out his hand, preparing to push Han Bing in. However, he felt that he had touched something that he shouldn't have. He even subconsciously pinched it. When he came back to his senses, Han Bing had already screamed angrily, "Qin Sheng!" That voice was loud enough for everyone within a few miles to hear. Chapter 5. Who did I offend? Thank you for your tips. I will work hard to write this book well. Qin Sheng did not do it on purpose, but Han Bing did not think so. However, Qin Sheng did not have the time to talk nonsense with Han Bing. Once the crisis was solved, Han Bing could do whatever she wanted. "You go in first," Qin Sheng said solemnly. After Han Bing screamed, she was ready to fight with Qin Sheng, only to find 2 strange men at the door. These 2 men were burly, wearing black short-sleeved shirts and only a pair of sunglasses, announcing to the world that they were bad people. They came with bad intentions. No matter how willful Han Bing was, she knew that the situation was not good. She quickly listened to Qin Sheng and retreated into the door. "Two friends, what can I do for you?" Qin Sheng said with a smile. They were all guests. He did not want to hurt their friendship. What if he scared the cats and dogs on the roadside? It has nothing to do with you. If you don't want to die, let us take her away, the bald, strong man who walked in front said fiercely. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "Damn, you two have good eyesight. Don't you think that this beauty is very beautiful?" "I think so too, so I've already taken her for myself." "You guys are a step too late. Next time do it earlier." "Playing with us?" The man sneered. When Han Bing heard Qin Sheng's words, she had already cursed 18 generations of his ancestors, but now she could only pin her hopes on Qin Sheng. "Damn, you guys like to be played." No, I don't have this hobby." Qin Sheng quickly shook his head and said. The other man said angrily, "Brother, why are we talking to him? If he doesn't want to live, let's fulfill his wish and kill him. It's a society ruled by law now. If you kill me, you'll be imprisoned forever." Oh, the people in prison love to pick up soap the most. "This is exactly what you guys like," Qin Sheng said. He was stalling for time because he wanted Han Bing to call the police. Although this silly woman was scared, she only stood there and watched the show. She was just short of carrying a stool and a bag of melon seeds. "You're asking for death." The two men were completely enraged. They did not want to talk nonsense with Qin Sheng anymore and directly rushed towards him. Qin Sheng was not afraid in the face of danger. A real ruthless character was not this kind of rough and uncouth trash. Thinking about it, this was just the appetizer. If they really wanted to use Han Bing to threaten Uncle Han, there would definitely be a main course later. Fortunately, the two men had no weapons in their hands. Otherwise, Qin Sheng might be at a disadvantage. Instead of retreating, he advanced and rushed towards them. When the bald man in the front punched him, Qin Sheng dodged it with a gorgeous sidestep. Then his fist hit the man's elbow joint like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. When he bent down, due to inertia, Qin Sheng lifted his knee and hit his chin directly. Finally, he hit his back with a powerful elbow. The elbow and knee were the most powerful parts of the body. In just a short face-to-face encounter, this man had already been defeated by Qin Sheng. The man at the side who was about to make a move but didn't have the time to do so was stunned. "Big brother, I was wrong." The man reacted quickly. He nodded and bowed to Qin Sheng, and then slapped himself. Qin Sheng walked forward step by step. He was so scared that he stepped back step by step. He had thought that it would be Mars colliding with Earth, but he did not expect that it would be Vajra fighting against women. "Sing Pleasant Goat and Pretty Goat," Qin Sheng threatened. Thinking of the movie he watched, he couldn't help but tease this man. "Big brother, I really don't know how to sing." "Sing or not." Qin Sheng raised his fist. "Sing, I'll sing. Pleasant goat, pretty goat, lazy goat." The man sang awkwardly. Qin Sheng deliberately turned around to look at Han Bing. Han Bing was already laughing. The man saw that Qin Sheng relaxed and took out a dagger from his pocket, preparing to sneak attack Qin Sheng from behind. Qin Sheng was already prepared. He had seen too many people like this. Even if he didn't sneak attack, Qin Sheng would still leave him a move. As soon as the man took a step forward, Qin Sheng turned around and kicked the man's head in an extremely beautiful and handsome roundhouse kick. The man's facial muscles and organs trembled at the same time. Then he passed out directly and fell heavily on the ground. Qin Sheng's eyes lit up. "Your singing is so King terrible." In just a few minutes, Qin Sheng had solved these two dangers. Han Bing, who was not far away, had her eyes wide open. She didn't expect this man, who looked a little thin, to be so powerful. Now, she finally understood why her father asked him to protect her. "You can come out now." Qin Sheng waved to Han Bing, who was inside the door. Han Bing stared at Qin Sheng as if she was looking at a monster and said, "You've practiced martial arts before? I live in Zhongnan Mountains. There are no lack of masters who live in seclusion there. I learned some moves from them, but it's nothing much." Qin Sheng explained casually, but it was also the truth. When they were young, they lived near Leguantai at the foot of Zhongnan Mountains. Leguantai was the place where Laozi preached. He realized the Tao Te Ching there, but it was not a famous Taoist place like Wudong Mountain or Longa Mountain. In addition, Taoism was declining, and there were too many ruins and scenic spots in Xi'an, so not many people knew about it. However, the headmaster of Laguantai was the president of the China Taoist Association for 10 years, until last year he retired. When his grandfather was free, he often went to chat with those old Taoists to kill time, talking about Fengshui, Zhou, E8 trigrams, and so on. Anyway, there were many Taoist temples in Zhongnan Mountains, plus those hidden masters in the mountains. When Qin Sheng was young, his life was very exciting. He accompanied his grandfather to walk around the entire Zhongnan Mountains. His skills were mainly taught by his grandfather, but more of them were learned from the few masters in Zhongnan Mountains. He could be considered as half their disciple. Zhongnan Mountains, I think I've heard of it. Han Bing said thoughtfully. Let's go, get in the car, I'll send you home. Qin Sheng shook his head. People like Han Bing would definitely not understand that kind of place. Han Bing stared at Qin Sheng with her hands on her hips and said, Dog, now let's settle the score between us. You actually touched my chest. What do you want? I'll call Han Guoping right now. That was just an accident. What do you want? I'll chop off my hand and give it to you. Qin Sheng was too lazy to care. Han Bing took an inch and said, Sure, chop it. Idiot. Qin Sheng scolded decisively. Han Bing scolded. Qin Sheng, F*CKU. Are you leaving or not? If not, I'll leave first. There will be a few more people coming out later. I won't say what will happen to you then. Qin Sheng said as he ran. Han Bing was shocked when she heard this. She quickly locked the door and chased after him. As a man, Qin Sheng always felt a little awkward driving a bright red Maserati. However, he was just a driver and assistant. Dog, I'll let it go for the sake of you protecting me just now. But if there's a next time, I'll definitely chop off your hand. Han Bing said fiercely. I won't touch even if you let me touch it next time. Who wants it? Qin Sheng muttered softly. Han Bing shouted. What did you say? I said, this car is really comfortable. The old driver, Qin Sheng said, with a double meaning. Han Bing did not understand what he meant, but she suddenly became very charming and crawled towards Qin Sheng. She pursed her lips and said, How does it feel? Comfortable. Qin Sheng said subconsciously. When he came back to his senses, Han Bing's super dragon claw had already reached for his vital parts. Fortunately, Qin Sheng grabbed Han Bing's hand. Otherwise, he would really be without descendants. F*CK, what are you doing? Don't pull me if you want to die. Qin Sheng was shocked and questioned. Han Bing gritted her teeth and said, Don't talk nonsense with me. Don't think that I'm grateful to you just because you took care of two useless things just now. Don't forget your identity. Qin Sheng directly went deaf. This Miss Perfect was really like a chameleon. She changed her face at will. When Qin Sheng sent Han Bing back to Huaran 9 Mile Beach, Han Bing said that he would pick her up at 7 tomorrow morning. Then she went in. Qin Sheng let out a long sigh of relief. The first day was finally over. Only then did he remember that the two of them had not eaten yet. Qin Sheng originally wanted to go out to buy some food and send it over. In the end, he gave up after thinking about it. If he was thrown away by this lady again, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? He went out and found a restaurant on the side of the road. After eating a bowl of not very authentic oil noodles, Qin Sheng decided to see Uncle Han again and find out who was going against her. This was also related to the problem of how he could protect Han Bing. In the Thompson Golf Villa, Han Guoping stood on the balcony and looked at the distant golf course. There were still many people playing there. Originally, he would play a few shots every night, but he really did not have the time and mood recently. Master Han, Qin Sheng is here to look for you. The old butler came in and reported. Han Guoping frowned slightly, and then ordered Qin Sheng to come in. Han Guoping was quite interested in this young man. Initially, he asked him to come to Shanghai to look for him unintentionally. He never thought that he would really call him. It was just that when it came to people with unknown background, Han Guoping had to be careful no matter how much he valued them. But thinking about it, Qin Sheng would not mix with his opponent. Coincidentally, this kid's skills were really good, so he let him protect Han Bing first. When the storm passed, he would think about how to arrange for him. Qin Sheng, How is it? Are you used to it? After Han Guoping saw Qin Sheng come in, he immediately returned to normal and said, Bing Bing didn't bully you, right? Uncle Han, it's all right. Bing Bing is also quite easy to get along with. It's just that she has a bit of a temper. Qin Sheng replied with a smile. Han Guoping pulled Qin Sheng to sit down and asked, Why? Why are you looking for me? Uncle Han, there was indeed someone who wanted to go against Bing Bing just now, but they only sent two useless people, no threat at all. But I'm worried that there will be other tricks later, so I want to ask you something. This is related to how I can protect Bing Bing. Qin Sheng said truthfully. Hearing that someone was going against his daughter, Han Guoping asked anxiously, Bing Bing is all right. She's fine. She has already gone back to rest. Qin Sheng shook his head. Han Guoping sighed. What do you want to know? Chapter 6. What are you crying for? Begging for collection, begging for red tickets, begging for monthly tickets. Shanghai was a very strange city. The locals always looked down on outsiders. Even the few districts in Shanghai looked down on each other. Jane Huangpu looked down on Suwei Pudong. Suwei Pudong looked down on Chongning Yangpu. Chongning Yangpu looked down on others, and so on. However, those who could stand out in this city and truly conquer this city were often outsiders. Han Guoping was one of them. He was a poor boy from Tianshui in Gansu province to become a big shot in the Bund today. How many hardships and ups and downs he had experienced during this period were not worth mentioning to outsiders. But he still could not spend his remaining years in peace and retire from the world. After all, along the way, he had too many enemies, and in the end, it was a hidden danger for himself. This time, even he himself knew that he might not be able to make it. A big shot in the Yangtze River Delta. Don't ask about the rest. You just need to help me protect Bing Bing. Han Guoping let out a long sigh. He did not know how to explain to Qin Sheng. After all, he did not know about the situation in the Yangtze River Delta, nor did he know about his own grievances. Qin Sheng felt that this matter was really not ordinary complicated. Uncle Han, you can rest assured about Bing Bing. I was entrusted to do my best. As for you, I can't help much, but if you really want to do something, just tell me. Qin Sheng nodded silently. Han Guoping was unwilling to say, so he did not ask anymore. Qin Sheng. Han Guoping patted Qin Sheng's shoulder, feeling very emotional. This child more or less had his own shadow. After returning from Thompson Golf, Qin Sheng still could not fall asleep. Maybe it was because these 2 years of life made him feel like he was walking on thin ice, causing him to be highly focused and find it hard to fall asleep most of the time. He took a few philosophy and psychology books that he bought today. When he was in university, Qin Sheng studied philosophy. He liked to ponder about human nature, but this subject was really not good for finding a job. But Qin Sheng did not want to rely on work to support his family. He wanted to practice wild fox meditation and walk the thorny road. He read a book called Social Animal with great interest. Although he had flipped through the book several times, he only felt a little sleepy when it was almost 2 o'clock. Because Han Bing had asked him to go over at 7 in the morning, Qin Sheng woke up at 6 and went out for a jog. He also practiced his boxing for a while. To him, this was the last guarantee for survival. Only when conspiracies and tricks were useless would he have to fight with real knives and guns. After breakfast, it was only 7:50 a.m. when he drove to Huaran 9 Mile Bund. Qin Sheng quietly waited for Han Bing to appear, but to his surprise, it was almost 7:30 a.m. and Han Bing still had not appeared. At this moment, Qin Sheng understood. Damn it, he had been fooled by this demon. When Han Bing appeared, it was already 8:30. She didn't seem to remember last night's prank. She got in the car and said, "Lackey, let's go." Qin Sheng shook his head helplessly. It was obvious that she had forgotten what she had done to him. He would just take it that he had suffered a loss, lest he reminded her and be mocked again. On the way, Qin Sheng hesitated for a while and said, "Take care of your father more. It's not easy for him." "Lackey, I don't need you to teach me how to be a person. Who do you think you are? You're just a dog that my father hired with money. Just do your own thing." Han Bing was like a tiger whose tail had been stepped on by someone. She exploded without warning. Qin Sheng was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect the conflict between the father and daughter to deteriorate to such an extent. If it was someone else who said this, he really wanted to slap that person's face. Some people, some things, don't wait until you lose them to know how to cherish them. Qin Sheng suppressed his anger and continued. Han Bing fiercely pounced on Qin Sheng, as if she wanted to fight with Qin Sheng. Fortunately, it was a red light. Otherwise, the car would have been destroyed. Qin Sheng used both hands to control Han Bing and said fiercely, Mother of Asterisker, do you believe that I won't slap you? Not everyone has to tolerate your bad temper. Han Bing was also frightened by Qin Sheng. At this moment, Qin Sheng's eyes were full of killing intent. He was no longer the lackey who would smile no matter what she said. The car behind them kept honking. Only then did Qin Sheng let go of Han Bing and pushed her to the front passenger seat. Han Bing's eyes were red, and she didn't speak. Qin Sheng was also too lazy to care about her. When Han Bing got off the car downstairs, Qin Sheng said expressionlessly, I have something to do today. Call me when you get off work. I'll pick you up. Han Bing didn't say anything and went straight into the company. Qin Sheng shook his head helplessly. He left the Maserati at the entrance of the company and went straight to Fudan University. Fudan University was known as the most bourgeois university. All these years, it had been at odds with Zhejiang University. Qin Sheng had graduated from a philosophy department of this university. However, those 4 years had ended before he could even savor the aftertaste of it. Compared to these 2 years of traveling all over the country, those 4 years of life were relatively simple. He did everything step by step and spent most of his time in the library and doing part-time jobs. His best friends were the 3 brothers in the dormitory and 2 friends in school. He didn't have much contact with the others. However, after graduation, everyone scattered around the world and began to run around for a living. In addition, he disappeared for 2 years. Now, he didn't know if their relationship was still the same. Qin Sheng went to Fudan University not to reminisce about his youth, but to see a great beauty. It was Lin Xian, the only daughter of his adoptive parents. He didn't expect that this girl would follow his path to Shanghai and enter Fudan University. Annie Wang gave him Xian's phone number, but Qin Sheng didn't plan to contact her. He knew where the School of Management was. As long as he spent some time, he would definitely be able to find Xian, because he wanted to give this girl a surprise. After all, this was his alma mater. So after Qin Sheng spent some time asking around, he found out that this girl was taking an elective course. However, he didn't expect that this girl was actually quite famous in Fudan University, where there were many beautiful girls. When Qin Sheng arrived downstairs, it was almost 12 o'clock. He was waiting downstairs. This girl would definitely see him when she came out. However, he didn't expect that it would be so lively downstairs. A handsome guy was holding a big bouquet of roses, surrounded by 7 or 8 friends. They were discussing something. The guy looked a little nervous, and his friends kept cheering him on. Qin Sheng looked at them with interest. He thought that this guy was definitely going to confess to the girl he was pursuing. This kind of melodramatic plot was played in all the universities in China every day. It was just that some guys won the beauty and some guys were rejected awkwardly. Wasn't it like this in university? In university, there was always a need to have a vigorous relationship. Otherwise, it would always feel a little incomplete. Which hot-blooded guy didn't have a girl or a goddess he liked at this age? He didn't know how this guy was doing today. Tan Jun, when she comes out later, you directly rush over with the bouquet. Say I love you first, and then confess. The guy next to him gave him advice. I don't need you to teach me. I know what to do. Tan Jun, you've been pursuing her for so long. This time, even if she has a heart of stone, she will definitely say yes. If it doesn't work this time, just give up. Don't say such discouraging words. Get lost. The men chatted and laughed at the same time. The students who passed by seemed to know what was going to happen. They tacitly stayed and prepared to watch the show. Soon, there were many people around. Qin Sheng stood on the lawn next to them to make sure that he could not only watch the show, but also watch Xian come out. The bell finally rang. This sound was heavenly to primary and secondary school students and college students. Soon, the students in the teaching building swarmed out. When they saw this scene, they didn't have time to go to the canteen to eat and stayed to watch. Qin Sheng stared at the exit of the teaching building. A few minutes later, the silly girl who had been following him since childhood and was now a great beauty finally came out. She had shoulder-length hair and wore a simple floral dress. When she smiled, there were two sweet dimples on her cheeks. She was carrying an inexpensive bag and holding a few books in her hands. She was talking and laughing with a few female classmates. Before Qin Sheng could call out, the guy carrying the bouquet had already rushed towards Lin Xian. His target was the management school's beauty, Lin Xian. Lin Xian, I love you. Tan Jun strode in front of Lin Xian and stopped her. Lin Xian noticed the scene as soon as she came out. When she saw who that person was, she knew who the female lead today was. She covered her mouth and panicked. Lin Xian, we've known each other for 2 years. The first time I saw you, I knew that I would never fall in love with anyone else in this life. You know how I've treated you these 2 years. Tan Jun started to confess his true feelings. Qin Sheng was also stunned. He didn't expect this guy's target to be Lin Xian. What the F***CK? But Qin Sheng didn't dislike it. Who wouldn't fall in love in university? If this guy was really not bad and Lin Xian agreed, he would help Lin Xian check him out. So, Lin Xian, be my girlfriend. The confession finally ended with this sentence. Tanjin's friends started to shout, say yes, say yes. The students who were watching from the sidelines, hoping to get married, also yelled in agreement with him. What about Lin Xian? She was very touched, really touched. She wasn't the kind to be *TCH who would flirt. As long as a guy was good to her, she would only treat him as a friend. After crossing this line, she knew that she had to keep her distance because she didn't want to hurt anyone. She knew that Tanjin liked her and that he treated her very well. But she really didn't want to fall in love. So Lin Xian made up her mind and said, Tanjin, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. After hearing this, Tanjin was stunned for a moment before coming back to his senses. He still insisted, Lin Xian, I really like you. Qin Sheng didn't know why, but after hearing Xian's apology, he actually felt relieved. But this guy was still pestering her, which made him very unhappy. Qin Sheng pushed through the crowd and walked in. He shouted, neither too softly nor too loudly. Didn't you hear that she already said sorry? Everyone turned to look at Qin Sheng, who had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Tanjin's friends questioned, who do you think you are? I'm not a thing. My name is Qin Sheng, Qin Sheng said innocently. When the others heard this, they all burst out laughing. Some people even scolded him for being stupid and funny. But when Lin Xian saw this man, who couldn't be more familiar, she was completely stunned. She thought that she had seen wrongly. After confirming again and again, she finally confirmed that it was him. Her tears couldn't stop flowing. 2 years of missing him completely exploded at this moment. She didn't expect that he would appear here. She really didn't expect that he would appear here. Sob, 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 sob. Lin Xian suddenly burst into tears without any warning. That sound was heartbreaking. Everyone understood. What on earth was going on? However, Qin Sheng didn't care about these worldly gazes. He slowly walked towards Lin Xian and pulled her into his arms. He murmured, silly girl, why are you crying? Aren't I back now? Chapter 7. This was the main course. Thank you for all the tips today. Thank you. Qin Sheng finally pulled Lin Xian away from the crowd. Everyone looked at each other. They didn't know the ending or the process. They didn't think that the man who came out of nowhere would win the beauty. Tanjun's face was very ugly. He knew that he had embarrassed himself today. The students and passers-by pitied him. Qin Sheng finally returned to the cafeteria of Fudan University. Although the food in the university was not very delicious, it was the cheapest. Qin Sheng just wanted to recall the taste of the past. Silly girl, why do you still like to cry like when you were young? Qin Sheng laughed. Lin Xian was still sobbing. Her light makeup was already ruined. Her eyes were so red that it made people's hearts ache. She looked up and said, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. All right. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. How can you forgive me? Qin Sheng said, feeling guilty. Lin Xian had not recovered yet. She still felt that it was unreal. She reached out and touched Qin Sheng's face. She murmured, "Brother, is it really you?" Qin Sheng held Lin Xian's cold hand and replied, "Silly girl, it's really me. It's been more than 2 years. You're finally back. Mom, and I thought you were dead. Why did you disappear for so long? Why did you make us worry? Do you know how much we missed you?" Lin Xian cried again. The students who didn't know what was going on thought that it was a couple showing off their love. Many people knew Lin Xian. It wouldn't be long before rumors spread all over Fudan University. Xian, I know all about it. I'm sorry for making you worry. I didn't show up when you needed me the most. Qin Sheng sighed. Lin Xian knew what Qin Sheng meant. Such a big change had instantly destroyed her family. Her father was sent to jail, and her mother had a relapse. The whole family had completely collapsed. She was so helpless at that time. I went back to Xi'an and saw Annie Wang. I didn't have time to see Uncle Lin. As for what happened at home, I understand. I didn't let Annie Wang tell you that I'm back. I want to tell you in person that I won't let anyone bully you in the future, Qin Sheng said firmly. She bit her lip and said, "Brother, I miss you." "Silly girl, hurry up and eat. After eating, accompany me to walk around Fudan University. It's been more than 2 years. I've been away from here for too long. I didn't expect you to come," Qin Sheng said with a smile as he touched Lin Xian's head. Thanks to Qin Sheng's flowery words, Lin Xian's mood finally recovered. This should be the best day she had been in the past 2 years. After dinner, she held Qin Sheng's arm and strolled around Fudan campus, ignoring the strange looks from those who knew her. The main campus of Fudan University was quite large. There were memories of Qin Sheng's 4 years here, both good and bad. "Brother, are you really going to stay in Shanghai?" Lin Xian asked with concern. Although they were not biological siblings, they were closer than biological siblings. She had a natural dependence on Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng nodded and said, "At least for the next few years. After all, it's a big city. There are more opportunities." "That's great. Then I can always play with you in the future. Hurry up and give me your phone number and WeChat." On the boulevard, Lin Xian, who was walking in front, skipped and laughed. The smile on her face was full of youthful flavor. Qin Sheng had already changed to a Huawei phone that day. He had downloaded all the necessary software, so he gave the phone to Lin Xian and let her play with it. "Brother, have you found a job now?" Lin Xian continued to be concerned. Qin Sheng nodded and said, "I'm currently helping an uncle. We'll talk about other things later. Actually, I don't really like Shanghai. The pressure of life is too great, and the pace of life is too fast. I want to go back to Xi'an after graduation. At that time, I can take care of my mother," Lin Xian said with a sigh. "It's good to go back, as long as you're happy," Qin Sheng said while sitting under the pavilion. Lin Xian mumbled after a while, "Brother, Sister Su Qin came to see me a few times. Are you still in contact?" "Su Qin?" Another person mentioned her. To be honest, Qin Sheng really did not hate her. Everyone had their own choice. It was just that after not contacting for so many years, everything was like smoke in the past. Let go with the wind. Qin Sheng shook his head. "I think Sister Su Qin still has you in her heart. Every time she comes, she will ask if there is any news about you." For the whole afternoon, Qin Sheng stayed on the campus of Fudan University. He even accompanied Xian to the library for a while. There were a few times when he wanted to leave, but Xian refused to let him go. She almost cried again. Seeing that Han Bing had not called, Qin Sheng stayed a little longer. After dinner, he sent Xian back to the dormitory before leaving. When he returned to Han Bing's company in Fuxing Park, everyone in the company had already gotten off work. The Maserati was still there. After all, the car key was with Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng knew that Han Bing was probably really angry, so he took the initiative to call her. He called her twice, but no one picked up. He sent a few WeChat messages, but still no one replied. "Damn it, she is such a bad temper," Qin Sheng scolded angrily. After a while, Han Bing replied, "I'm drinking with friends, don't worry about me. I don't care about you, I'll go back to sleep." Qin Sheng first drove to the nearest bookstore to buy a batch of books. At that time, he majored in philosophy and then taught himself finance and management. If it was not for the lack of energy, this guy wanted to study law. Since elementary school, Qin Sheng was a standard top student, but he never showed off. He always maintained an above-average level in every exam. He had a good grasp of the situation. It was not until the college entrance examination that he amazed the world and became the top student in the school. Since young, Qin Sheng maintained two best habits. One was to read, to keep reading, to learn as long as he lived. The other was to exercise. He had to exercise every day to keep his body in the best condition. This way, not only would he be healthy, but he would also be energetic. After buying the books, he went to the supermarket to buy some vegetables and fruits. When he returned to Shermao Riviera Garden, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. Qin Sheng made a pot of tea and began to read. This time, he was reading Notes of Yuewei Cottage. At 11 o'clock in the evening, Han Bing finally called. She asked Qin Sheng to pick her up with a lisp. He guessed that she was drunk. Qin Sheng only gave her two simple words, address. After that, he went straight out. In a place like a bar, it would be very easy for anyone to do anything to Han Bing if they really wanted to. He could not help but regret getting angry with Han Bing. If something really happened, how was he going to explain to Uncle Han? Zinni G Plus was one of the last nightclubs in Shanghai. Han Bing, who was in a bad mood, invited a few of her best friends to get drunk. She was not the kind of nightclub princess who played all day, but she would go there once or twice a week. As the daughter of Han Guoping, Han Bing naturally knew a lot of rich playboys in Shanghai. It was normal to meet acquaintances here. However, this acquaintance was one of her pursuers and someone she especially hated. Han Bing, I've been chasing you for 3 years. Don't be so shameless. Do you really think that you're still the Han Bing that no one dares to touch? If you agree to be my girlfriend, I might consider asking my family to help your father get through this crisis, said a man who was dressed gorgeously and whose hair was combed until it shone. It was unknown how many kilograms of hair gel he had used, but he was very arrogant. Lu Chengfeng, Han Bing is in a bad mood. If you have anything to say it next time, Han Bing's best friend said. It's none of your business. Sit there obediently and don't make me angry. Otherwise, you know the consequences. The man called Lu Chengfeng said fiercely. Do you know what you look like to me now? Han Bing was already half drunk and said with a devilish smile. Everyone did not know what she meant. Han Bing then said, like an idiot, haha. I think you really don't know what kind of situation you're in, Lu Chengfeng said in a strange tone. Fortunately, they were sitting in the corner of the booth. If they were in the most exciting place, probably no one would be able to hear what they said. Damn it. Han Guoping's business is his business. Don't get involved with me and him. If you think you're awesome, I'm sitting here. You can directly kidnap me and rape me. The worst result is going to jail. Your family is rich and has a strong background. It won't take long for you to get out. You don't even dare to rape me. How dare you say you like me? His words were really domineering. The table of men and women was silent. Lu Qingfeng's face was gloomy, and he said, Do you think I don't dare to do it now? When your father falls, see how I'll deal with you. Come on, I've been afraid of you before. If you have the ability, do it now. If you don't dare to, then F***ck off, Han Bing scolded loudly. Damn it! Lu Qingfeng was humiliated by Han Bing in public. He was also angry. The alcohol went to his head, and he was about to slap Han Bing. But he did not manage to slap her. His wrist was tightly held by a man's hand. Destroying a flower is not something a man would do. The man laughed and said with a slightly magnetic voice, Who the F***ck are you? Lu Qingfeng scolded. His two friends also scolded. Qin Sheng did not waste any more words. With a backhand, he directly gave Lu Chengfeng a chokehold. His right hand picked up a red wine bottle from the table as fast as lightning. With a bang, the bottle was smashed on the side of the table, leaving only the mouth of the bottle in his hand. He directly aimed at Lu Qingfeng's chin. The whole action was not sloppy. The few women at the side looked at Qin Sheng like they were infatuated. Looking for death? Qin Sheng said viciously. The few men only knew how to bully the weak and fear the strong. When they saw a ruthless person like Qin Sheng, they were naturally afraid. Lu Chengfeng changed his face quickly. He quickly replied, Brother, I was wrong. I was wrong. Qin Sheng also did not want to cause trouble here. Otherwise, it would cause a lot of trouble for himself. Moreover, the security guards had already walked over. He directly pushed Lu Qingfeng away and said, "Get lost." The few men left eagerly. For characters like them, they might get back at him in the future, but they would definitely not suffer a loss now. Qin Sheng pulled Han Bing's hand and said, "Let's go. Don't touch me. Who do you think you are?" Han Bing was still angry and shouted stubbornly. Qin Sheng really could not stand her. He directly grabbed her waist and carried her away. Han Bing was originally frightened by the scene just now. Now that Qin Sheng sang like this, she could only be carried away obediently. On the way, Qin Sheng had already put Han Bing down. Otherwise, the security guards would have thought that she was kidnapped. Qin Sheng's face was livid. He did not say a word. Han Bing was like a child who had done something wrong. She let Qin Sheng pull her. After getting in the car, Qin Sheng whispered, "I'll send you home. I'm in a bad mood. I don't want to go home." Han Bing muttered softly. Qin Sheng said helplessly, "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to go for a drive by the beach." Han Bing raised her head slightly and said pitifully, "Can you do it?" Qin Sheng saw that she had drunk a lot. "It's okay. I just need to vomit a few times." Since Han Bing had already said so, Qin Sheng did not waste any more time. He directly drove the Maserati straight to the beach. On the way, Han Bing vomited 3 times. Every time she got out of the car and vomited, she would get in the car and continue. Qin Sheng said that they should go another day, but Han Bing insisted. It was not until they got out of the city that Qin Sheng inadvertently saw a car following them from the rearview mirror. He frowned slightly. He thought that it should not be those few good-for-nothings just now. Even he did not notice such sophisticated driving skills. It should be Han Guoping's enemy. Last night was just an appetizer. Tonight was probably the main course. Fasten your seatbelt and sit tight. Qin Sheng reminded Han Bing, who was beside him. Chapter 8. Even more domineering than me. New book seeking collection, seeking monthly tickets, seeking bonus tickets. What kind of enemies did Han Guoping provoke to make them fight to the death? Qin Sheng had more and more questions in his heart. He had to find out, lest he got himself involved in the storm. It was not a good thing to get himself into trouble. Now that he had met such a character, even protecting himself was a problem, let alone helping others. At this time, Qin Sheng thought a man who had a good relationship with his grandfather. When he was studying in Shanghai, he took care of him. This man was known as a know-it-all, so he should know about this. However, Qin Sheng had no time to think about other things now. He had to get rid of this follower first. Although Qin Sheng had only driven a Maserati for a few days, cars were just like that. He could race with others on the mountain road in a Passat. Naturally, he could also race with a Maserati. Moreover, in the city, he had a natural advantage if he wanted to get rid of a car. On the highway, Shanghai's highway and flyovers, as long as there was a fork in the road, it would be almost impossible to catch up. "Lackey, what's wrong?" After vomiting a few times, Han Bing was already awake. Qin Sheng's speed and serious look scared her, so she asked in panic. Qin Sheng squinted his eyes and said, "Someone is following us." Hearing this, Han Bing did not dare to say anything else. For Qin Sheng to be so serious, it was obviously not simple. From the nearest intersection to the overpass, the Maserati shuttled through the traffic, constantly overtaking other cars. It was obvious that the Honda Accord behind it could not keep up. Not long after, it disappeared from sight. Qin Sheng then rushed to an overpass that had several forks in a row. He randomly chose an intersection and came out. After making 2 rounds outside, he got back on the expressway and headed toward the southeast of Shanghai. Finally, he completely got rid of the Honda Accord. When Qin Sheng arrived at his destination, Lake Drop, it was already past midnight. He knew that there was a sea view park there. After tossing around for a night, he had to fulfill Han Bing's wish, and this was the best location. Looking at the sea at night, other than hearing sounds, nothing could be seen. Only the distant lighthouse or the lights of the cruise ship were still on. Mountains, rivers, seas, Qin Sheng was in awe of nature. In front of them, humans were really too small. Qin Sheng, thank you, Han Bing said subconsciously when they were standing by the sea. Qin Sheng was stunned for a moment. Did the sun rise from the west? How could this demoness say the word, thank you? So he said, it's not easy to hear this word. Get lost, don't be so shameless. In the next second, Han Bing returned to her original state. Han Bing took off her high heels, stepped on the beach barefoot, and ran towards the sea. When the waves came, she smiled and retreated. When the waves retreated, she chased after the tracks and continued to move forward. In the end, her delicate little feet were swallowed by the waves, and the air was filled with her light laughter. Qin Sheng held her high heels and stood in the distance, watching quietly. At this moment, Han Bing was no longer the spoiled and willful Ms. Perfect, but a little girl who would never grow up. Ah! Han Bing shouted with all the strength in her body. After an unknown period of time, she finally got tired and sat beside Qin Sheng, not afraid that the sand would dirty her expensive clothes. I was born in Tianshui, Gansu province. The environment there was very bad. When I was young, my family was very poor, so poor that we couldn't even eat our fill. The clothes I wore were all mended. During the new year, everyone wore new clothes, but I still wore my old clothes. When I went to school, my mother borrowed money from relatives and friends. Drunk and tired, Han Bing was finally willing to sit down and talk. My home is in Xin, not far from your hometown, Qin Sheng said casually. At least they were both from the Northwest. My father ran away from home when I was 6 years old. He said that he wanted to go out and try his luck. He couldn't just die of poverty in that broken place. For the next 10 years, my father would only come back during the new year. Sometimes, he wouldn't even come back during the new year. The longest I can remember is that I only saw him once in 3 years. My mother worked hard at home to take care of my grandparents and me. Life was very hard at the beginning. The whole family was supported by my mother until my father's business started to get better. But my mother was a woman in her 30s, but others thought she was already in her 50s. When I was 16, my father brought my mother and me to Shanghai. When I was 16, my dad brought my mom and me to Shanghai. From then on, I became a child of a rich family. Everything was the best, and everyone revolved around me. But my mom and I rarely saw my dad. Sometimes it was a week, sometimes it was a month. I knew he was busy, but no matter how busy he was, he had to go home. Later on, I found out that my dad had other women and more than one. I hugged my mom and cried. Damn it. Who was the one who accompanied you through the most difficult days? My mom said that my dad didn't have it easy. What else could I say? From then on, I hated him. Later, his business became bigger and bigger, and he came home less and less often. I also went to college and was sent abroad to study. At that time, my mother was the only one left at home. It wasn't until I received the bad news and came home that I found out that my mother had stomach cancer. When she found out, it was already in the late stage, but she didn't tell anyone. She endured the torture of the disease by herself. When I came home, I cried so many times that I fainted. I was so angry that I almost slapped him. I said, "Do you only live for money? What did my mother do in her previous life to marry you in this life? Do you know how much you owe her? You can't even pay her back in a few lifetimes." I had a cold war with him for a year. From then on, I didn't go back to that home anymore. After graduation, I opened my own company, but the relationship between us could no longer be reconciled. Later on, he brought a woman home, and I didn't care. Later on, the woman died in a car accident. From then on, he changed completely. Han Bing hugged her legs and talked to herself. Qin Sheng listened quietly at the side until she said that she was tired. Only then did he know the conflict between the father and daughter. It seemed that this conflict would be difficult to reconcile in this lifetime. People, indeed, should not only live for money. Under the premise of ensuring that the general direction did not change, they should also cherish what they should cherish. Otherwise, when many things are missed, there will only be regrets left. Only when you're old can you truly understand the phrase, regret for the rest of your life. I've said so much. Let's talk about you, lackey. Han Bing had already secretly shed tears, and now her eyes were red. I have a name. Qin Sheng rolled his eyes at her. Han Bing pursed her lips and smiled. All right. Since you accompanied me to indulge today, I won't call you lackey. Qin Sheng, what about you? Me. I only have a grandfather, no parents. Qin Sheng said casually. Han Bing was surprised. You're an orphan? Sort of. Regarding his own matters, Qin Sheng was never willing to mention it to others. No matter how good their relationship was, he would only hide it in his heart. Qin Sheng was afraid that Han Bing would continue to ask, so he stretched and said, It's getting late. Let's go back. I want to see the sunrise. Han Bing did not intend to leave. This was the best place to see the sunrise. Qin Sheng was just about to let Han Bing give up on this idea, but he realized that danger had already arrived. The bright moon shines on the great river. A talented man with a beautiful woman. How romantic. A man said with a slight playful tone, and slowly walked towards Qin Sheng and Han Bing. He was playing with a dagger in his hand, and the cold light reflected under the moonlight was a little scary. Han Bing subconsciously hugged Qin Sheng. If Qin Sheng left her at this time, no one would know that something had happened to them in this wilderness. With a fragrant and warm jade in his arms, it was rare for him to take advantage of a beautiful woman. Qin Sheng was a little reluctant, but now was not the time to talk about love. At least he had to solve the problem first. You were the one who followed us just now, right? Qin Sheng let go of Han Bing, got up, and took 2 steps forward, leaving enough buffer area without threatening Han Bing. There was a scar on the left cheek of the man, which was shocking under the moonlight. He laughed and said, You're quite capable. You could even find me when I was so hidden, and you could even get rid of me. If I didn't use some connections to check the car plate, I really wouldn't know that you guys would come here to flirt. Looking for me or her? Qin Sheng was not sure. After all, he had a lot of enemies. Otherwise, there would be people chasing him all over China, and some even wanted to kidnap him back to be his son-in-law. There were so many weirdos in this world. The knife-scarred man was also very direct. He pointed to Han Bing, who was not far away, and said, Why would I look for you? Of course I'm looking for a beautiful woman. Such a beautiful woman. I've been drooling over her for a long time. Master Han's enemy? Qin Sheng continued to ask. The knife-scarred man continued to play with the dagger in his hand. It was a 30 centimeters bayonet, extremely sharp. Han Guoping dares to call himself Master Han? You really think you're somebody? To be honest, I really don't want to talk nonsense with you. I heard that you injured 2 of my men yesterday. If you want to live, then tell me. I was wrong. I'll pretend that nothing happened and ask you to get lost immediately. If you don't know what's good for you, then today might be the day you die, the knife-scarred man said in a strange tone. It was obvious that he did not take Qin Sheng seriously and was full of confidence. Qin Sheng turned around and looked at the delicate Han Bing. He smiled faintly and said, She's my girlfriend. You want me to hand my girlfriend over to you? Why don't you ask me to *CK your ass? Interesting. Remember my name? Yang Deng. In case you don't even know who killed you, the knife-scarred man, who was Yang Deng, said with a smile. As soon as he finished speaking, he had already thrown the bayonet to the front and rushed towards Qin Sheng. He caught the bayonet halfway, and the whole movement was very satisfying. Qin Sheng did not have a weapon in his hand, so he was obviously at a disadvantage. He could also tell from a man's aura and movements that he was not an ordinary person. If he wanted to pass this stage tonight, he would probably have to pay a price. Qin Sheng was afraid that he would hurt Han Bing, so he could only bite the bullet and go forward. When the 2 of them came into contact, the bayonet in Yang Deng's hand attacked Qin Sheng with a series of movements. He was obviously an expert in using knives. Qin Sheng could only tiredly dodge, while Yang Deng's footsteps were very steady. There were no flaws at all. Qin Sheng wanted to grab the bayonet with his bare hands, but there was basically no chance in a short period of time. Yang Deng caught the bayonet that was falling from Qin Sheng's right hand under his armpit. At the moment when Qin Sheng was careless, the bayonet cut Qin Sheng's arm. This was after Qin Sheng realized that he had exposed a flaw. Otherwise, the skin on his chest might have been directly cut open. Good skill. Qin Sheng took a few steps back and said with sincerity. Yang Deng was actually very shocked in his heart. From the man in front of him, he could tell that this man's strength was not simple. His advantage was using knives. If he really fought with this man head-on, he would probably be in danger. You're not simple either. I haven't met a tough guy for some time. I didn't expect to win the lottery tonight. Holding the bayonet, Yang Deng faced Qin Sheng and sneered. Qin Sheng slowly took off his suit jacket and twisted it into a rope. He straightened his hands, bent his knees, and bent his waist. He said unhappily, I haven't been injured for a long time. Since you think so highly of me, how disappointed would you be if I don't play well with you? Good. You're even more domineering than me. Yang Deng was stunned for a moment. He did not expect this man to be even more domineering than him. Qin Sheng was like a hungry wolf staring at its prey. He gritted his teeth and said, I'm new here, sorry to offend you. Chapter 9. Don't think too much. Begging for collection, begging for a bonus. Qin Sheng was injured. Han Bing instantly became nervous. After Qin Sheng took off his coat, his left forearm was bleeding a lot. She didn't know why, but whenever this man stood by her side, she always felt a sense of security from the inside out. This was also what she lacked the most since she was young. Even Han Guoping didn't give her this feeling. This man, whom she had only known for a few days, made her feel so secure. Han Bing had seen the world before. The two men last night looked good, but were useless. They could scare ordinary people, but when they met a real master, they had no power to resist at all. That was why Qin Sheng could easily deal with them. But tonight, this man dared to come here alone, so he was definitely not simple. Now that Qin Sheng was injured, she didn't know if Qin Sheng was his match. She didn't even think about what would happen to her if Qin Sheng lost. She just hoped that Qin Sheng could win. The coat was Qin Sheng's weapon. When Yang Deng rushed over, Qin Sheng directly threw the coat at Yang Deng's face. Yang Deng dodged in time, and the bayonet went straight for Qin Sheng's chest. Qin Sheng dodged sideways and caught the other end of the coat at the same time. He lifted his knee and went straight for Yang Deng's abdomen. The bayonet in Yang Deng's hand went straight for Qin Sheng's neck. Qin Sheng gritted his teeth and let the bayonet slash across his chest, leaving a bloody mark. In a split second, he wrapped his coat around Yang Deng's arm. When Yang Deng wanted to avoid Qin Sheng's knee strike, Qin Sheng pulled Yang Deng's arm upwards. Then, he loosened his grip and elbowed Yang Deng's head directly. The lethality of this elbow strike was off the charts. When a person's brain received an instantaneous blow, he or she would feel dizzy for a short period of time. Experts often took advantage of such a time gap to hit the target. Of course, Qin Sheng would not miss such an opportunity. He punched Yang Deng's face again. Then, he punched Yang Deng's chest several times consecutively, causing Yang Deng to take a few steps back. In the end, Qin Sheng jumped high and kicked Yang Deng's face, sending him flying. Yang Deng's head suffered such heavy blows one after another. At worst, he would have a severe concussion. Didn't you want to kill me? Qin Sheng's chest and arms had been dyed red with blood. However, he had long been used to this. It was really miserable when it was worse than this. At this moment, Yang Deng was beaten up badly by Qin Sheng. He no longer had the arrogant look just now. He lay on the ground and struggled to get up. Qin Sheng did not kick him when he was down. He just picked up Yang Dengba's bayonet from the beach beside him. Type 81 bayonet, you're pretty good at it, but your basic skills are too bad, Qin Sheng said disdainfully. It did not occur to Yang Deng that he would lose so miserably. He squinted and asked, Who on earth are you? Me? I'm just a poor loser. Since you want to F***CK me, I can't just stand there and let you stab me with the bayonet, right? Qin Sheng said with a smile. Then, he played with the bayonet that was not worse than Yang Deng's. I always walk by the river, and I finally get my shoes wet. It's my bad luck. You can do whatever you want. Yang Deng was not so wishy-washy and would not beg for mercy. Qin Sheng did not stand on ceremony. He raised the bayonet and stabbed it directly into Yang Deng's thigh. Then, he squinted and said, Shanghai is a big city. Killing people is against the law. I don't have a strong background like you guys, but you have to pay a price. Otherwise, you think I'm easy to bully. This stab is your punishment. As for what you and the people behind you want to do, it's up to you. Anyway, I can feed myself. As long as you don't kill me, I will accompany you to the end, Qin Sheng continued. It's getting late. We should go back. You can think of a way yourself. Qin Sheng found Yang Deng's phone and threw it directly into the sea under Yang Deng's puzzled eyes. This was also his usual way of doing things. Yang Deng directly cursed in his heart. What a bastard. When Qin Sheng pulled the frightened Han Bing away, Yang Deng shouted in a very manly manner, I owe you my life. Qin Sheng just listened and did not take it seriously at all. What was real and what was fake was really mesmerizing. When they walked to the Maserati, Qin Sheng subconsciously wanted to continue driving, but was stopped by Han Bing, who was still confused. You're injured. Let me drive when we go back. Qin Sheng thought about it and nodded slightly. He handed the key to Han Bing. Let me send you to the hospital. After getting in the car, Han Bing saw Qin Sheng's bloody appearance and said nervously. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, Why go to the hospital with such a small injury? I have to go to the hospital. What if it gets infected? I don't want to feel guilty because of this. Han Bing was no longer willful. On the contrary, she had a gentle side. At this moment, Han Bing was delicate and slightly strong. Her pouting little mouth did not allow Qin Sheng to refuse. Qin Sheng had no choice but to let Han Bing do whatever she wanted. Otherwise, this lady would fall out with him again. They randomly found a hospital. Han Bing ran back and forth while Qin Sheng injected and bandaged his wounds. The wound on his chest was not serious, but the wound on his forearm needed a few stitches. But in Qin Sheng's eyes, this was all a fuss made by the doctor. In short, it was already 3 o'clock in the morning when they finished. Han Bing was already a little sleepy. Qin Sheng let her sleep in the front passenger seat for a while and drove her home. This kind of minor injury was really harmless to him. Han Bing asked him again and again if he could do it. This time, it was Qin Sheng's turn to flip out. How could a man say no? When he sent Han Bing back to Huaran 9 Mile Bund, it was already 3:30 in the morning. Qin Sheng waited for Han Bing to get out of the car and returned to Shermao Riviera Garden. Han Bing was very conflicted at this time. After hesitating for a while, she finally said, It's so late, don't go back. This sentence made Qin Sheng's eyes widen. He stared at the attractive Han Bing with a dumbfounded expression. Han Bing realized the subtext of this sentence and could not help but blush. She quickly explained, Don't think too much. I don't mean anything else. How am I thinking too much? What do you mean by something else? It was rare for Qin Sheng to relax, so he deliberately teased her. Han Bing was so angry that she spoke incoherently. Your sister. I want to say it's so late, you should sleep here with me. Otherwise, you still have to come and pick me up tomorrow morning. How troublesome. Don't think that I will give you a holiday just because you're injured. I still need your protection. Oh, I understand. That's what I was thinking, Qin Sheng said in a strange tone. Han Bing was so angry that she was at her wit's end. She could not help but stretch out her hand and punch Qin Sheng's chest. Who knew that it was Qin Sheng's wound? Qin Sheng cooperated and bent over with a painful expression. Only then did Han Bing come back to her senses. She quickly helped Qin Sheng up and said, I forgot that you're injured. I'm sorry. Are you okay? A woman's heart is really the most vicious. You did it on purpose, Qin Sheng said, pretending to be innocent. Han Bing did not want to continue to be entangled with him. She could only help Qin Sheng up the stairs. When the door was pushed open, a leisurely fragrance floated into Qin Sheng's nose, making him feel very refreshed. This was the first time Qin Sheng stepped into Han Bing's boudoir. The modern and simple style was very compatible with Han Bing's temperament. The few oil paintings at the entrance and the living room were the finishing touches. After the huge floor-to-ceiling windows were opened, the night view of Pudong could be seen. Living in such a house was really enjoyable. Sit anywhere you want. There's whatever you want to drink in the fridge. I'll take a shower and change my clothes first, Han Bing said casually after entering the door. She then entered the master bedroom bathroom and locked the master bedroom and bathroom door. After all, a man and a woman were alone in a room. She was also a seductress who could make men crazy. With Qin Sheng's ability, if he really wanted to do something, she could only give up resisting and lie down to enjoy. Qin Sheng poured a glass of water and looked around Han Bing's mansion. There were 3 rooms 2 living rooms, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen. The decoration was very modern and luxurious. It was clean and tidy. Flowers and fragrance could be seen everywhere. If he really lived in it, he would really feel out of place. After looking around for a few minutes, Qin got bored and lay on the sofa in a daze. Perhaps it was because of the battle tonight. Qin fell asleep not long after. When Han Bing came out after taking a shower and changing into clean and refreshing clothes, she saw Qin curled up on the sofa and fell asleep. She could not help but laugh. She knew very little about Qin, but she could see that Qin was a gentleman. It was just that he had a cheap mouth. When she thought of that man's face when he threw that man's phone into the sea, she could not help but want to laugh. A man suddenly appeared in her life and protected her again and again. He was not like other men who always catered to her and made her feel especially safe. As she said that, Han Bing herself blushed. What was she thinking? She quickly ran back to the room to get a blanket for Qin and then went back to the room to rest. Qin had a very comfortable sleep. Maybe it was because he slept too late last night and his mind was relaxed. When he woke up, it was already 8 o'clock. In the kitchen, Han Bing was making breakfast. Qin got up and stretched, then walked to the kitchen and said, "Why are you up so early?" "I'm awake. Wash up and come out for breakfast," Han Bing, who was wearing an apron, said with a smile. This made Qin suddenly have an illusion, as if he had a cohabiting lover in a certain period of time in his life. He shook his head hard and ran into the bathroom, where Han Bing had already prepared a toothbrush and towel for him. After breakfast, Qin sent Han Bing to the company. On the way, Han Bing said, "I'll give you a day off today. Go back and change your clothes. I'll be in the company today. Come pick me up in the evening. I'll treat you to dinner then." Qin was originally busy, so Han Bing's arrangement was exactly what he wanted. After returning to Shermao Riviera Garden and changing his clothes, Qin used the computer to check and confirm that the company was still there. Then, he went straight to Lujiazui Pudong, on the 44th floor of the South Tower of Shanghai International Financial Center. This was an unknown trading company. Compared to the well-known multinational companies in this building, this company was really too low-key. However, the 2 ladies at the front desk were beautiful, very much in line with their boss's taste. "Sir, who are you looking for?" The long-haired lady at the front desk smiled and nodded politely at Qin and asked. After all, Qin had been trained by the old master for so many years. In terms of temperament, he would definitely not lose to anyone. In addition, although it was not worth much, it was very fitting, so he did not need to be despised by this beauty. Qin laughed and said, "Is the old fox here?" "Oh, it's your boss." "Sir, do you have an appointment?" The lady at the front desk still asked with a standard smile. Naturally, Qin did not have an appointment. He casually said, "I don't have an appointment, but I've called him. My name is Qin. Tell him my name, and he will naturally come out to see me." "Then please wait a moment." The lady at the front desk nodded and then called the chairman's office. Chapter 10. There is no more chance. A new week begins. I hope the strongest counterattack will get better and better. P.S. Today is my birthday. Happy birthday to myself. Qin was bored, so he looked at the layout of the company's entrance. This old man was indeed a wicked man. He must have spent a lot of money to arrange the company's feng shui, but he still had the temperament of a nouveau riche. It was magnificent and vulgar. He must have made a lot of money in the past few years. "Oh, my little ancestor, I thought I heard it wrong. I didn't expect it to be you." The man had slick back hair. He was not tall and probably weighed more than 200 kilograms. He had a fat head and big ears. His face was full of muscles. He shouted as he walked. It was the first time for the 2 beauties at the front desk to see the big boss like this. They wanted to laugh, but did not dare to. They could only hold it in for fear that the boss would fire them later. Qin kept staring at the middle-aged man with a smile. When he trotted in front of Qin and was about to give him an excited hug, Qin had already imagined the scene. It was too painful to look at. He estimated that the 2 beauties would even vomit last night's dinner. So he directly reached out to stop him. Stop, stop, stop. Old fox, I know you're very happy and excited to see me, but you have to calm down, calm down. You boy, you're finally willing to show up after disappearing for so long. I thought your head was already in another place. The middle-aged man laughed and said. Qin Sheng rolled his eyes. Can't you think of something better? You can't wait for me to die. Even if I die, you, a nouveau riche full of sins, will definitely die before me. Damn it. Why are you saying these morning words in the daytime? Let's go to my office and have a good talk. The middle-aged man spat and then pulled Qin Sheng into the company. Qin Sheng smiled and said, Your two beauties at the front desk are not bad. If you're interested, I will introduce them to you. Qin Sheng shook his head and said, No, you can enjoy them slowly. A gentleman does not take away others' love. F***ck off. The middle-aged man's name was Jiang Xianbang. He was mainly in the import and export trade and was also a powerful broker. In his early years, he did some shady things such as digging up graves and smuggling antiques. Later, he retired from the business and used money to build a network of connections. He met 2 or 3 noble people and experienced many ups and downs. At the worst, he almost lost his life. Only then did he have the stable life he had today. One of his benefactors was Qin Sheng's grandfather. Back then, Jiang Xianbang had nowhere to go and went to Zhongnan Mountains to find a master to solve his doubts. He met Qin Sheng's grandfather by chance. Seeing that Jiang Xianbang was not a bad person and had accumulated a lot of good karma over the years, Old Master gave him a few words of advice and let him meet the Ox-Nosed Taoist at Laguantai. Only then did Jiang Xianbang avoid a disaster and walk on the right path. When Qin Sheng went to Shanghai to study, Jiang Xianbang had been taking care of him, so the two were very close. But Qin Sheng did not have too much contact with Jiang Xianbang because of his grandfather's advice. Jiang Xianbang's office was luxurious. The huge floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire Pudong financial district. The office was full of red sandalwood furniture, which was as tacky as ever. There was a wall of books behind the desk, which was full of books and biographies of famous Chinese and foreign people. But they were just for show. Maybe he had not read many of them. Shall Li, bring out my best ancient pu'er tea from Tongqing Hall. Jiang Xianbang asked the female secretary to make tea. This female secretary was even prettier than the receptionist. Her butt swayed as she walked. Jiang Xianbang did not mind Qin Sheng's presence at all. He slapped the female secretary's butt hard. What he got in return was a coquettish grumble from the secretary. Qin Sheng knew that he liked beauties. After all, he was not married and had no children. He said that he was too evil and did not want these karma to accumulate on his wife and children. It was best to be alone. Tell me, what did you come back to Shanghai? Why didn't you tell me? Are you looking down on me? A nouveau riche? Jiang Xianbang had never regarded Qin Sheng as an ordinary person. He had seen countless people. The first time he saw this child, he felt that he was intelligent. Moreover, there was the old antique behind him. Naturally, he did not dare to look down on him. I just came back a few days ago. I came to find you immediately after I finished the trivial things. I was going to eat and drink for a few days, Qin Sheng said with a smile. Eat and drink whatever you want. I don't have anything, but I don't lack money. I can't bring it with me when I'm alive, and I don't have any children or worries. Only spending it is practical. Jiang Xianbang lit a cigar and laughed. His attitude toward life was extremely open-minded. He had long seen through everything. How about you call me Godfather, and I will leave these things to you? Jiang Xianbang's eyes suddenly flickered, and he asked thoughtfully. Qin Sheng was slightly absent-minded and immediately replied, you want to take advantage of me? Dream on. Jiang Xianbang did not care about Qin Sheng's refusal. He just said it on a whim. Well, he did not deserve it. As the old master. I haven't seen him for many years. It's a pity that the old master did not allow me to visit. Jiang Xianbang sighed and knew that he had committed too many sins. Qin Sheng was a little disappointed and said slowly, Grandpa died 2 years ago. Hearing this news, Jiang Xianbang was a little shocked. He stared at Qin Sheng for a moment. The cigar in his hand was about to be extinguished. Then he asked in a trembling voice, "The old master passed away?" Qin Sheng nodded and did not say anything. Since he was a child, he and his grandfather had depended on each other. He had seen through many things that his grandfather had said. Everything was fate. Death was the only way out in life. It was just a matter of time. The old master has passed away. What are your plans? After all, Jiang Xianbang owed Qin Sheng a favor, so this favor could only be returned to Qin Sheng. In the future, I will take root in Shanghai. I will trouble you a lot. If I cause trouble, you will have to help me clean up, Qin Sheng said half-jokingly. Jiang Xianbang said disapprovingly, "Don't be so polite. If you really need me to clean up, I will do it. I say, why don't you come to my place? I will let you be the general manager. Later, I will see which family's young ladies are waiting to marry. At that time, I will help you matchmake them. I can't let the old master say that I am not sincere." After the female secretary brought over the brewed tea, Qin Sheng picked up the purple sand teacup and smelled it. It was really refreshing. It was a pity that the level of the person who made the tea was not good enough, so this good tea was ruined. I heard that the old-time tea in Tongqing can easily sell hundreds of thousands or even millions. Today, I have seen the world. Qin Sheng deliberately changed the topic. Jiang Xianbang hit the table and said, "Brat, I am asking you a question. Don't. I am afraid that when the time comes, all the beauties in your company will be ruined by me. Moreover, I have a job to do now. It is much better than working here," Qin Sheng said meaningfully. "What job? Tell me." "Protecting the daughter of a big boss. She's a great beauty." "Big boss, tell me who it is. I think I know her." "If you are really interested in that girl, I will help you talk to her," Jiang Xianbang asked curiously. "Han Guoping," Qin Sheng said slowly, staring at Jiang Xianbang. Sure enough, after hearing this name, Jiang Xianbang's face changed instantly. His eyes were a little gloomy. He stopped smiling and said without anger, "Qin Sheng, you must have come today for this matter." Jiang Xianbang was a wily old fox. Qin Sheng was still too young in front of him. Moreover, he also knew what kind of person Qin Sheng was. If there was really nothing, this guy would not come to him easily. Since he had been seen through, Qin Sheng did not hide anymore. He said in a deep voice, "I owe him a favor, so I promise to protect his daughter. Qin Sheng, stay away from Han Guoping. This time, he is really in trouble. He provoked a big shot. That person wants to kill him. I think it is hard to escape. Don't get yourself into trouble," Jiang Xianbang said sincerely. Qin Sheng raised his head and drank a cup of tea. "I think he has. Old fox, I just want to know, who did he provoke?" Jiang Xianbang thought for a few seconds and then replied, "An old fox who has been floating and sinking in the Yangtze River Delta for many years. The old fox has eyes and ears everywhere in Shanghai. It just happened that Han Guoping was involved in a storm, which gave him a chance to hit him when he was down. If you're interested, you can ask Third Master Wu. So I advise you to stay away and stop as soon as possible." "Do you think I will?" Qin Sheng chuckled. Jiang Xianbang sighed helplessly. "Forget it. You have such a bad temper. I still have some friendship with him. If you really get into trouble, mention my name. He should not make things difficult for you." With the words of the old fox, Qin Sheng had some confidence. He continued to ask, "Is there really no hope for Han Guoping?" Jiang Xianbang lit up the cigar again and shook his head. "His backer has fallen. There is no chance." "I know," Qin Sheng said with a heavy heart. After chatting with Old Fritter for a long time, they had lunch at a nearby restaurant at noon. Old Fritter had originally said that he would hold a welcoming dinner for Qin Sheng at night, but Qin Sheng declined, saying that they would meet again another day when they had time. Old Fritter did not insist, knowing that this kid had something to do. However, after Qin Sheng left, Jiang Xianbang immediately made a phone call. "Brother Wen, help me make an appointment with Third Master Wu. There's an old thing that he should be very interested in." No matter what the purpose was, he had to ensure that Qin Sheng would not get into trouble. In front of that old fox, Qin Sheng was just an ant that could be trampled to death at any time. At first, Jiang Xianbang was most worried that Qin Sheng would ask him to help Han Guoping. It was not that he did not have the ability, but he must not get involved in this mess. When he returned to Han Bing's company, it was already past 4 in the afternoon. Because Qin Sheng was injured last night, Han Bing did not make things difficult for him today. She let Qin Sheng rest in her office, but she had been in a meeting. Qin Sheng had nothing to do, so he casually flipped through a book. At the same time, he thought about the impact of Han Guoping's matter on him. He did not have the ability to help Han Guoping through the crisis. The only thing he could do was to protect Han Bing. Also, should he tell Han Bing? Why are you in a daze? Han Bing came in after the meeting and saw Qin Sheng looking out of the window in a daze. She laughed. Qin Sheng came back to his senses and laughed. Think about what the beautiful lady is going to treat me to today. It's up to you. You can eat whatever you want. I'm only responsible for paying the bill. Han Bing was in a good mood. She pursed her lips and smiled. Oh yes, you definitely did not take your medicine today. I asked someone to buy some more. It's on the table. Hurry up and eat it. Qin Sheng stared at Han Bing with a look of disbelief. What's wrong? Han Bing asked doubtfully. Qin Sheng said, Did the sun rise from the west? Why are you suddenly so nice to me? I'm not used to it. Don't tell me that you plan to repay me with your body because I saved you. A hero saves a beauty. A good-looking hero will repay you with his body. An ugly one, on the other hand, will be forever grateful. In my next life, I'll be a cow or a horse to repay the benefactor. You belong to the latter. Han Bing rolled her eyes at Qin Sheng and said unhappily. Qin Sheng gritted his teeth and said, Damn you. Eat or not. Han Bing's face immediately changed. Qin Sheng could only reply, Eat, eat, eat. Chapter 11. I drank too much last night and forgot to update. Han Bing's attitude towards Qin Sheng had changed greatly because Qin Sheng had protected her twice in a row and she was injured last night. This was a good start. Han Bing wanted to treat Qin Sheng to a meal. With her taste, she would not go to a roadside stall, but choose a top restaurant on the Bund. However, Qin Sheng was more willing to go to a roadside stall, but he could not reject Han Bing's good intentions. His arm and chest were not fatal injuries, so Qin Sheng did not care. He would recover after a while, but Han Bing still insisted on driving. Those in the company who knew Qin Sheng's identity knew that he was Han Bing's assistant, and those who did not know would think that he was Han Bing's boyfriend. Wangjiang Pavilion on the 7th floor of number 3 on the Bund was one of the most famous and expensive restaurants in Shanghai. It was said that the success rate of marriage proposals was very high here. Han Bing had booked a table early, but of course, today was not a proposal. Han Bing obviously came to this place often. She led Qin Sheng to the window with ease, looking at the night view of the entire Pudong, and then looking at the surrounding guests, each of them dressed in bright and beautiful clothes. They were either rich or noble. Qin Sheng was more or less not used to this kind of place. If you take me to a roadside stall and eat meat and drink wine, I will be even happier. A meal here is probably worth dozens of barbecue meals. Qin Sheng was in a good mood as he sat opposite Han Bing and admired the beauty who was no longer cold and had a smile on her face. Everyone's living environment was different. Han Bing had started a lead education since she was a teenager and later went abroad to study. Her friends were all super rich and beautiful like her. Naturally, she could not understand the kind of comfort that Qin Sheng was talking about. You loser. Ordinary people don't even have a chance to eat, and you're complaining. Have you ever seen a boss treat a driver and bodyguard to such a big meal? Besides, those are all junk food. Not clean. Aren't you afraid of getting sick? Han Bing glared at Qin Sheng. She really could not give him a good face. He was taking advantage of her. Qin Sheng curled his lips and said, That's true. Anyway, you're the one paying for it. I'm just freeloading. I'll eat whatever you want. Then shut up, Han Bing snorted. A man and a woman were sitting at the table closest to Qin Sheng and Han Bing. They seemed to be a couple and were flirting at the moment. When they heard what Qin Sheng and Han Bing said, they did not despise them. They just felt that it was funny. However, when the man heard Qin Sheng's voice, it seemed to be a little familiar. He frowned and shook his head, thinking that it was impossible to meet him here. When he turned around to find out who Qin Sheng really was, Qin Sheng just got up and went to the bathroom. However, from this back view, the man already knew the answer he wanted. His eyes were a little hot, and he grinned, looking like a fool, making his girlfriend, sitting opposite him, look puzzled. After Qin Sheng walked far away, the man slowly got up and whispered a few words to his girlfriend. Then, he sat directly opposite Han Bing, which was Qin Sheng's seat. "Beauty, we seem to have met somewhere before. You should be the girlfriend of one of my friends, right?" The man said to Han Bing with a smile. Han Bing was playing with her phone when she saw a strange man sitting opposite her. She was wondering what was going on, but when she heard this sentence, she knew what was going on. She was already used to this kind of vulgar and unbearable pickup line, so she directly replied, "Sorry, I don't know you, and I don't want to know you." "Beauty, don't be so harsh. Let's be friends. Maybe we'll have many interactions in the future." The man was very thick-skinned, and he kept on pestering her. Han Bing stared at this uninvited guest. He was handsome and had a good temperament. His smile was a little evil. He wore a Patek Philippe on his wrist, and his clothes were either Armani or Versace. His net worth was probably not low. At such a young age, he must be from a rich family. However, she had seen too many vegetables like this, so she was not interested at all. "Do you have a net worth of 1 billion? Han Bing asked very randomly. This sentence made the man stunned. After he came back to his senses, he laughed and said, "I didn't expect a beauty's taste to be so tricky. If I want to be friends with you, I have to have a net worth of at least 1 billion. Friends? Don't you just want to pick me up and sleep with me? If you don't have this price, you'd better find someone else." Han Bing was already a little disgusted and said very impolitely, "So direct. It seems that your friend must have a net worth of more than 1 billion. The man asked persistently. Han Bing sneered and said, "Whether he has a net worth of 1 billion or not has nothing to do with you. Most importantly, he is my boyfriend. Even if he is poor, I am also his woman." Han Bing did not have any other thoughts. She just wanted to use the simplest reason to make the man retreat and stop bothering her. "Oh, then I have to see what kind of man can have a beauty like you." The man was not angry at all. "Are you leaving or not? If you don't leave, I'll call security." Han Bing was really angry this time. The man still did not want to leave. Han Bing stood up and glared at him. At this time, Qin Sheng had already returned from the bathroom. Seeing someone sitting in his seat, Han Bing's face was also very unhappy. He quickly walked over. "What's going on?" Qin Sheng asked in a low voice. The man did not get up. He deliberately covered half of his face and said, "Is he your boyfriend? Let me see how awesome is this man." When the man stood up and faced Qin Sheng wanted to see who had the ability to provoke the great beauty Han Bing. His face quickly changed from anger to joy. He did not know what to say for a moment. The man was calm and stared at Qin Sheng with a light smile. A few seconds later, Qin Sheng punched the man in the chest and then directly hugged him. At the same time, he shouted, "F*CKU Lao San? Why the hell are you here? F*CKU, you still know me? I thought you were dead." The man scolded. At the same time, he hugged Qin Sheng excitedly and hit Qin Sheng's back hard. The other guests did not know what was going on. They looked over in confusion, including Han Bing. What was going on? After a long time, when the two of them separated, the man called Lao San said excitedly, "F*CK. I thought I recognized the wrong person. When I heard your familiar voice and saw the way you walked, I knew it was you, F*King Dog. F*CK. I didn't expect to meet you here." Qin Sheng laughed and said. Lao San then looked at Han Bing and said with a smile, "Beauty, sorry for offending you just now. I was just joking with you." I deliberately teased Qin Sheng. "I didn't mean anything else. I didn't expect this bastard to find a girlfriend like you. He's really lucky." "Girlfriend?" Qin Sheng looked at Han Bing and asked in confusion. Han Bing originally wanted to use Qin Sheng as a shield, but she did not expect it to backfire. Now, it was really embarrassing. She looked at Qin Sheng and the man and did not know what to say. "This beauty just said that she is your girlfriend. What's wrong?" Lao San was also a little confused. Qin Sheng smiled. He knew what was going on. He walked directly to Han Bing and put his arms around her slender waist. "Oh, this is my girlfriend, Han Bing. This is my college roommate, Xia Ding. He's the third in our dormitory. Xia Ding was the third oldest in our dormitory. Hello. Han Bing nodded politely and smiled. But she directly reached out and pinched the tender flesh on Qin Sheng's waist. Although Qin Sheng felt the pain, he could only smile and bear it. He had to say that Han Bing's waist was really soft. Hello, sister-in-law. Don't be angry about what happened just now. It's all a misunderstanding. It was rare to meet a university friend, so Xia Ding was in a good mood. There were 4 university roommates. Qin Sheng was the eldest, Xia Ding was the third, the second was from Beijing, and the fourth was from Nanjing. Han Bing naturally would not be angry. After all, she already knew Xia Ding's purpose. After a few words, the 2 tables were joined. Xia Ding also introduced his girlfriend. She was an outstanding beauty with a graceful figure. But Qin Sheng knew Xia Ding very well. This guy had been with thousands of women, but not a single one had touched him. It wouldn't be long before the beauty by his side would be someone else. Boss, it's been almost 2.5 years. It's like you've disappeared. You haven't contacted us at all. What have you been doing? Sitting opposite each other, Xia Ding began to complain. For more than 2 years, Qin Sheng did not contact anyone. This was also the biggest question in everyone's heart when they saw Qin Sheng again. What on earth made him hide for more than 2 years? It was not good for Qin Sheng to tell others about these things. He could only casually say, "It's a long story. I'll tell you in detail when I have time." Okay, let's have a good drink some other day. I really miss the days when we were in university. Do you remember when we were fighting in the dormitory? Boss, you stood in the corridor and challenged a group of people alone. No one dared to go up to you. That scene was really King awesome. Every time I think about it, my blood is boiling. Xia Ding drank the red wine in his glass and said excitedly, "It's all in the past." Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. That was one of the more high-profile times in university. In the end, if it wasn't for Xia Ding's family using their connections to suppress this matter, he would have probably packed up and left Fudan University. By the way, how are Lao Er and Lao Si now? I haven't seen them for more than 2 years. I really miss them. Qin Sheng thought of the 2 roommates and asked quickly. Xia Ding said slowly, Lao Er came to Shanghai on a business trip last week. We had a meal together. At that time, he was talking about you. He is now a good seedling for an official career. He is doing well, and the leaders focus on cultivating him. Lao Si is similar to me. We both entered the family company, but he is more hardworking than me. He is an outstanding young entrepreneur in Jiangsu. He is not like me, who is sloppy and waiting to die. We meet often, no matter if it's him or me. As long as we are in a bad mood and want a drink, we will immediately drive over. You can ask them out later. Let's get together when we have time. Qin Sheng said casually. He still valued their relationship in university. Okay. I will call them when we get back. See if they are free. Xia Ding laughed when he thought of the 4 brothers gathering again. Just as he finished speaking, Xia Ding suddenly thought of something. Boss, if I send them a photo and say that you are in Shanghai, do you think they will come over now? Qin Sheng did not stop him. So Xia Ding took out his phone and deliberately took a photo of Qin Sheng and Han Bing. Without saying anything, he WeChat sent it to Lao Er and Lao Si. Almost as soon as he put the phone on the table to wait for the message, Lao Si called first. He asked directly, Xia Ding, F*CKU. I won't talk nonsense with you. Number 7 Wang, Jianggu on the bund. Are you coming? Although Xia Ding was scolded by Lao Si, he was not angry at all. I am in Suzhou. I will definitely come over in 2 hours. Lao Si, who was in Suzhou, said without hesitation and then directly hung up. Xia Ding turned on the speaker so everyone could hear it. Just as Lao Si hung up, Xia Ding was about to make a few jokes. Lao Er called and also went straight to the point. Where are you? Shanghai Bund. Xia Ding was stunned by Lao Er's aura and said hesitantly. Lao Er, who was still talking and laughing at the wine party, said in a low voice, I have booked the ticket. I will send the flight number to you. Send a car to pick me up. After that, he directly hung up. Xia Ding laughed heartlessly and said, Are they crazy? Han Bing and the beauty looked at each other. Qin Sheng raised his head and drank the red wine in his glass. At this moment, he was a little emotional Who didn't have a few brothers in this life who were close to them? Chapter 12. Brothers gathered. Qin Sheng's university life was simple and plain, without too many ripples. Other than attending classes and working part-time, he spent most of his time in the library and elective classes. He just wanted to live a fulfilling life. His closest friends in university were his 3 roommates. Although he had a failed relationship, it was not a waste for him to be able to get to know these brothers. Let's go somewhere else. This place is not suitable for us. Since Lao Air and Lao Sea were coming, Qin Sheng knew that they would not go home until they were drunk tonight. This kind of place was not suitable for them to vent their feelings. Xiaoding knew what Qin Sheng meant and said casually, "It's okay. Let's fill our stomachs first. They still need 2 or 3 hours to get here. We'll go straight to our old place later." Xiaoding and his girlfriend had just arrived and had not ordered yet. Since they were sitting at one table, they only ordered now. Hanbing knew that Qin Sheng had never been to such a place before, so she took the initiative to order a few dishes for Qin Sheng. The two of them looked so intimate that they really looked like a couple. Xiaoding did not suspect anything at all, because Xiaoding had a pretty vase by his side, and Qin Sheng knew him too well. He did not dare to ask too many questions. Most of the topics were about the trivial things that happened during their university days, as well as the story between Qin Sheng and Hanbing. Anyway, Qin Sheng let Hanbing make up stories, and he only occasionally added in. Whenever Xiaoding asked about the things that happened in the past 2 years, Qin Sheng would just brush it off. Hanbing was very interested, but Qin Sheng always avoided it. Coming out of Wang Jiangge, Xiaoding directly let the beautiful vase beside him take a taxi and leave. Just as he said before, if it was a woman he truly loved, he would never come to such a place to eat. Instead, he would cook delicious home-cooked dishes for her at home. After the beauty left, Xiaoding looked to Hanbing and asked deliberately, "Sister-in-law, are you coming with us?" "No, I'm too tired today. I'll go back and rest early. It's rare for the 4 of you to get together. I won't disturb you." Hanbing was already tired from acting this scene. Now that there was a chance to escape, she naturally would not get involved. Qin Sheng had the same idea. Xiaoding also felt that no matter which woman was present, they would not be able to let go. As both Qin Sheng and Hanbing had drunk alcohol, neither of them could drive. Fortunately, Xiaoding was sent by the chauffeur. The chauffeur was already waiting by the roadside, so they left the Maserati in the parking lot and sent Hanbing back to Horan 9 Mile Bund. This place was very close to the 9 Mile Bund. After chatting for a few minutes, they were already outside the community. Xiaoding was waiting in the car, and Qin Sheng sent Hanbing to the door. After all, Qin Sheng had not forgotten his mission, which was to protect Hanbing's safety. Moreover, there had been danger for 2 consecutive nights. The killer last night was even more extraordinary. Who knew what else they would encounter? Along the way, Hanbing carried her bag and did not say a word. Who asked her to be clever just now? If she opened her mouth now, she would only be laughed at by Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng also did not take the initiative to speak. The atmosphere was a little awkward for a while. "Don't drink too much tonight. Don't forget that you're still injured," Hanbing reminded him gently. Ever since last night's incident, her attitude towards this man whom she had only known for a few days had changed slightly. This girlfriend is not bad. Qin Sheng naturally would not let go of the opportunity to take advantage of her. As soon as he opened his mouth, Hanbing immediately blushed. She did not dare to raise her head to look at Qin Sheng. She hurriedly opened the door and hid in the house. She leaned against the door, her heart thumping nonstop. Outside the door, Qin Sheng laughed unscrupulously. Inside the door, Hanbing gritted her teeth. When Qin Sheng walked out of the community, Xiaoding was standing by the roadside smoking. He threw a cigarette to Qin Sheng and laughed. "Boss, you treat your girlfriend well. What did you hook up with such a beautiful and elegant woman? She can live in the 9 Mile Bund. She's a Ms. Perfect. Don't be so talkative. Don't tell me you can't tell." Xiaoding was very meticulous. With his sharp eyes, he definitely could tell that Hanbing and Qin Sheng were definitely not a couple. He just did not point it out when they were eating. After hearing Qin Sheng's words, Xiaoding did not hide anymore. He laughed out loud and said, "Tell me, what's your relationship with this beauty? If you're not interested, I'll go after her later." Scram, do you still lack beauties by your side? Qin Sheng laughed and scolded. Xiaoding suddenly thought of something and said, "Boss, you're not being kept, are you?" Scram, Qin Sheng said angrily. After smoking and stuffing out the cigarette butt, Xiaoding suddenly hugged Qin Sheng without warning. He patted his back heavily and said, "Big brother, I'm so happy to see you again. Don't worry, I won't leave again." Qin Sheng was moved. When the driver sent Xiaoding and Qin Sheng to their so-called old place, it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening. This was just an ordinary Sichuan restaurant not far from the headquarters of Fudan University. In the past, when they were in university, they would come to this restaurant whenever they had a gathering. When they graduated, they also ate here. Whether it was Qin Sheng or Xiaoding, they were very familiar with the boss. It was just that Qin Sheng never came again, but Xiaoding occasionally came over to reminisce about the taste. "Boss, business is good," Xiaoding directly shouted after entering the door. Because it was cheap and the taste was not bad, this restaurant's business was very good. Most of the people eating in the restaurant were students from the surrounding schools. The boss was not tall, but white and fat. He shaved his head and shouted to collect money. When he saw Xiaoding coming in, he immediately smiled and said, "Hey, Xiaoding, I haven't seen you for a few months. I've been busy recently, so I came immediately when I had time." Because he was an old customer, the boss naturally knew Xiaoding. Then Xiaoding pointed at Qin Sheng and said, "Boss, do you still know this person?" No matter how many people came here to eat, the boss would never forget Qin Sheng. He said directly, "Damn it, forget who? How can I forget Qin Sheng? Lao Gu almost smashed my restaurant in the past." Among the 4 people in the dormitory, the boss was low-key and did not cause trouble. The second was calm, but had a bad temper. The third was a playboy, and the fourth was a little weak. Once, they had a fight with the students from the finance and economics university opposite. "Ha ha, boss, long time no see." Qin Sheng greeted him familiarly. Xiaoding directly found a seat and said, "Boss, don't talk nonsense. Same old rules. Bring 2 boxes of beer, cold ones, and 2 boxes of cold ones for me. Lao Air and Lao C will also come later." "Okay, no problem," the boss responded loudly. He had many repeat customers here. Some were looking for memories, and some were looking for taste. He had long been used to this. 2 boxes of cold beer and 5 special cold dishes. Qin Sheng and Xiaoding chatted while waiting for the other 2 in the dormitory. Xiaoding had also sent the latest address to Lao Air and Lao C. They drank and chatted. Not long after, Lao C arrived first. A flashy black Ferrari stopped at the entrance of the restaurant. Lao C, who was in a suit and leather shoes, rushed into the restaurant excitedly and shouted, "Boss, boss." This restaurant was not big. Qin Sheng and Xiaoding sat at the entrance. At this time, the 2 had already stood up. Lao C stared at Qin Sheng with red eyes. Qin Sheng slowly walked over and smiled slightly. "Lao C." After saying that, Qin Sheng hugged Lao C tightly. However, when Lao C saw Qin Sheng, his excitement disappeared instantly. It seemed that he had a stomach full of complaints against Qin Sheng. He was unwilling to hug Qin Sheng. His stubborn look was like that of a child who had not grown up. Xiaoding knew that Lao C was angry. In the past, when he was drunk, he often scolded Qin Sheng. Among the 4 in the dormitory at Fudan University, Lao C was the weakest. Every time he was bullied, the first to stand up was always Qin Sheng. Every time he caused trouble, Qin Sheng was always in front of him. In terms of relationship, Lao C and Qin Sheng were the closest. He had always treated Qin Sheng as his own brother. When they graduated, Lao C said to Qin Sheng, "Brother, when I go home and take over the power, I will be filial to you in the future. I will buy a luxury car, live in a mansion, and play with celebrities. We will share blessings and misfortunes together. I haven't seen you for more than 2 years. Why are you still a little kid?" Qin Sheng let go of him and joked with a smile. Xiaoding quickly came over and pulled Lao C. "Lao C, I know you feel wronged. Let's not talk about anything else today. All the words are in the wine. If you want to vent, pour it on him. Therefore, Qin Sheng and Xia Ding pulled and finally let Lao Si sit down. Lao Si's name was Yu Kefi, nicknamed Yu Wenla of Fudan University. He was handsome, but a little thin. The most outrageous thing Lao Si had done was to go to Beijing to chase the goddess he had been secretly in love with for 4 years when he was in the 3rd year of university. It was under Qin Sheng's encouragement that he plucked up the courage. The 4 brothers made plans and finally decided to go to Beijing. That night, the wind was biting and the snow was falling from the sky. They, together with a group of friends of Lao Er in Beijing, made an extremely romantic environment downstairs of Lao Si's goddess dormitory. They also spent money to hire a band. Lao Si himself played the guitar and sang. Both he and the goddess liked folk songs, especially Zhao Lei. So Lao Si sang Zhao Lei's Southern Girl, which was also his favorite song. The whole Beiwai went crazy. The girls' dormitory was brightly lit, and the surrounding area was tightly surrounded. Fortunately, Lao Er used his connections in Beiwai. Otherwise, he would have been driven away before he confessed. In the end, the goddess came down, and Lao Si also confessed, but the result was not satisfactory. Lao Si was rejected. As for the reason, it was really ridiculous. The goddess said, "You can't give me the life I want." Lao Si was stubborn, but he was not stupid. He never told anyone about his family background. He was low-key. Naturally, the goddess did not know his background. Even the 3 people in the dormitory knew that he had been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger for 4 years when they were about to graduate. His family background was even stronger than Lao San's. He put the flowers on the ground, faced the goddess, and said with a self-deprecating smile, "Goodbye, never again." After that, he turned and left, no longer reluctant. That night, they were at a barbecue stall in Beijing. A group of people got drunk. Lao Si cried his heart out and shouted, "Fuck you, motherf asterisk her, society." What he liked was the goddess he first met in high school, not the goddess who had been ruined by society. So his wish had been fulfilled, and he had no regrets. After Yu Kefi sat down, he did not speak and just stared at Qin Sheng. Xia Ding eased the atmosphere and said, "Lao Si, how do you want to drink?" Yu Kefi was not pretentious. He picked up a bottle of beer and drank it directly. Qin Sheng said nothing, then picked up a bottle and drank it. Xia Ding had no choice but to follow him. After drinking a bottle, Yu Kefi seemed to be not satisfied. He picked up another bottle and continued to drink. Qin Sheng accompanied him to the end. Xia Ding had already cursed in his heart, but he had no choice but to bite the bullet. When the second bottle was finished, Yu Kefi picked up the 3rd bottle and wanted to continue to drink. Xia Ding had not finished the 2nd bottle. Seeing this situation, he was dumbfounded. He quickly pulled Yu Kefi and said, "Lao Si, brother, you are my brother. I beg you, if you continue to drink, I will go to the hospital. Can you take it slow? Even if you have complaints about the boss, don't let me get involved." Qin Sheng also said in a timely manner, "Lao Si, it's my fault that I disappeared for more than 2 years. If you're not satisfied, you can punch me a few times. If you want to drink, I will accompany you to the end. Anyway, I will be in Shanghai in the future. If you don't drink enough today, we can continue tomorrow. You get me drunk tonight. You give me an explanation later, and this matter will be over." Yu Kefi finally spoke, and it was simple and direct. "Okay, I will accompany you." Qin Sheng had no opinion. So the next scene was interesting. At first, it was basically Xia Ding and Qin Sheng talking. Yu Kefi, who was sitting next to him, kept asking Qin Sheng to drink until he drank more and more, and then began to chatter. Beer is slow to get drunk, but fast to pee. The 3 of them had gone to the toilet 4 or 5 times, until the 2nd brother finally came from Beijing. The 2nd brother did not let the driver call Xia Ding and directly came here. When he entered the door, he saw that the 3rd brother had already gone crazy. He was the most mature and steady in the dormitory, unlike the 4th brother who was angry. He went straight to Qin Sheng and sat down, patted Qin Sheng on the shoulder, and whispered back. Qin Sheng looked back and saw him. He shook his head and smirked. "Back? Still going?" "No." The 2nd brother sat down, picked up a bottle of beer and said, "Drink." Qin Sheng, Xia Ding, and Yu Kefi burst into laughter. Chapter 13. Grandpa, I miss you. The results of new books are the most important. Please collect and vote more. The relationship between men was simple and direct. Most of the things, as long as they talked about it and let it go, would be resolved with a smile. Unlike the relationship between women, no matter how good their girlfriends were, they would fight against each other and live like the story of Empress Shun. At first, Yu Kefi was still angry with Qin Sheng, but as he drank more and more, he became more and more drunk. Finally, he let go of himself and began to complain to Qin Sheng. He said that he had been looking for Qin Sheng for a long time and even went to Xi'an in person, but there was no news at all. The second oldest, Chao Yufeng, was a native of Beijing. His Beijing accent was always full of charm. He was the most compatible with Qin Sheng in the dormitory. They had a lot of common topics. Maybe it was because of the different environment. This guy had always been very calm. But if he was really angry, his temper was even worse than Xia Ding's. He was the kind of person who dared to poke a hole in the sky. Only Qin Sheng could control him. However, after graduation, he took the civil servant exam and worked in the government department. Gradually, his temper was tempered, plus the living environment. No wonder Xia Ding said that he was more and more official. When everyone was here, they started to drink. Chao Yufeng did not ask anything. He did not ask what Qin Sheng had been doing in the past 2 years, or when he would come back, or what was going on now. Fourth oldest, are you still angry with me? Qin Sheng was good at drinking, but he was not drunk after 1,000 cups. He was a little drunk at this time. After the 4 brothers drank 3 cups, Qin Sheng looked at Yu Kefi and said, Yu Kefi used to be very weak at drinking. 4 years in college could be regarded as training. Now, after taking over the family business, he naturally had a lot of social activities. Now, his drinking capacity was no worse than Qin Sheng's. However, he had drunk in Suzhou just now. After hanging up the phone, he directly asked his friend to drive him here. Boss, everyone has their own things. I don't know what you have experienced in the past 2 years, but I've been in the business circle for more than 2 years. I can see from your eyes that you have had a hard time in the past 2 years. If you don't want to tell us, we won't ask much. But no matter how difficult it is, you have to remember that there are 3 of us, Yu Kefi said in a daze, but he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Xia Ding then said, Lao Si is right. Boss, since you will be staying in Shanghai in the future, don't fall behind anymore. Contact us if you have nothing to do. As long as we have time, we will get together. Do you remember what we said when we graduated? If we want to be awesome, we will be awesome together. If we want to be down together, we will be down together. Chao Yufeng, who was at the side, said somewhat discontentedly, Damn it. It seems that the 3 of you will be stationed in the Yangtze River Delta in the future. I have been King abandoned. Yu Kefi laughed out loud and said, Second brother, then you should work hard and strive to be transferred to the Yangtze River Delta after you are promoted. We still need the protection of a proper disciple like you. Qin Sheng said with a smile, Since you have chosen this path, don't let those who believe in you and support you down. Don't forget what you said to me at the beginning. I am waiting for you to realize it. Chao Yufeng picked up a bottle of beer and directly drank it. Stop talking nonsense. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Today we just drink. Qin Sheng and the others said in unison. CK, we have almost drunk enough. You are here to clean up the battlefield at this time? Therefore, the 3 of them picked up their glasses, slightly touched each other, and then each of them took a sip. Chao Yufeng directly cursed. CK, you are so mean. For boxes of beer. No matter who drank more or less, they could not leave until they finished drinking. This was the scene when they graduated, so it had to be the same today. Smoking, drinking, playing, laughing, and cursing. After leaving the school, everyone put on a leather bag and armor so that they could be decent people in this complicated society. It was actually quite simple to be good alone, but if they wanted to go further, they could only choose to follow the bad example. But people always had to stick to their final bottom line and principles. But at this moment, the four of them all put down everything and showed their true faces. Because they knew each other too well, there was no need to take out the tricks they used in society. If they really did that, it was estimated that there would not be a next time after drinking today. After finishing 4 boxes of beer, except for Chow Yufeng, the second oldest, who did not vomit, the other 3 vomited. Yu Kefi, the 4th oldest, vomited twice. The 4 of them left the restaurant drunk. Lao San, Shanghai is your territory. What's the arrangement? Xiaoding's driver had been waiting outside the restaurant. After they got in the car, Chow Yufeng, who was slightly sober, asked, "Today, you can play however you want. Lao Da, second brother, Lao Si, you can choose whatever you want." Xiaoding was already drunk, so he did what he wanted. Yu Kefi shouted, "I haven't drunk enough. I haven't drunk enough. I want Lao Da to drink all the beer he owed for the past 2 years tonight." Lao San, don't you live in number 1 Zhongliang Ocean View? Let's buy some beer and some vegetables and go back to your place to continue drinking, Chow Yufeng suggested. In fact, as an old driver, Xiaoding originally wanted to take his brothers out to have fun. But after thinking about it, he gave up. After all, his brothers were more willing to drink and chat than to seek pleasure in that kind of place. Lao, what do you mean? Xiaoding looked at Qin Sheng and asked. Qin Sheng echoed, "Just listen to Lao air." "Well, let's go back to my place first. I'll arrange the rest," Xiaoding arranged. When the 4 of them returned to Xiaoding's home in number 1 Zhongliang Ocean View, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. No one was sleepy at all. Xiaoding had arranged people to buy beer and food. Sitting on the balcony and looking at the night view on both sides of the Huangpu River, they smoked and puffed. Yu Kefi sighed with emotion. Time really flies. We have graduated for more than 2 years. Don't be sentimental. Aren't we living a good life now? Xiaoding laughed and scolded. Chow Yufeng followed and said, "It's time to get married and have children. I know Xiaoding doesn't want to settle down. What's the situation with you two now?" Qin Sheng asked with concern. Chow Yufeng took a deep breath and said, "I don't think about it now. I should focus on my career first. In another 2 years, it will be best if I can meet a woman I like. If I can't meet her, I will find a suitable one to marry." "Ha, I guess I have to go ahead of you. Let me tell you in advance. I will get married in February next year. You will all have to attend." Waiting for Chow Yufeng to speak, Yu Kefi, whose face was pale from vomiting, laughed out loud. Xiaoding was stunned and said, "What the F***CK Lao Si, is it true? Among us, you are the most infatuated. Do you remember when you went to Beijing to confess your love and was rejected? Ha, I didn't expect you to be the first to leave the organization. Third brother, to be honest, I envy you the most. You don't want to be sloppy. I can't do it. I just happen to meet a woman who likes me, and I don't dislike her. She is beautiful and has a good family background. So I just let her go." Yu Kefi smiled bitterly. After being rejected by his goddess, he never liked anyone again. He didn't care so much about feelings, so it didn't matter. Chow Yufeng was more curious about Qin Sheng's situation, so he said, "Big brother, don't ask us. What's your situation?" "Me? I am alone." Qin Sheng shrugged and said. Xiaoding directly exposed him and said, "Bullshit. Let me tell you, there's a super beautiful and temperamental beauty around Big Brother. She calls herself Big Brother's girlfriend, but Big Brother doesn't admit it." "Really? What the F***CK, Big Brother? When will you let us meet Big Sister? Is she the beauty in the photo?" Yu Kefi coaxed. Chow Yufeng also looked curious. "Don't listen to Lao San's nonsense. There's no such thing. It is just a misunderstanding. She is the daughter of my friend. Something happened to her family. My friend asked me to protect her." "What? Big Brother, have you changed your profession to be a bodyguard?" Several people talked at once, but the more they tried to explain, the darker it became. Qin Sheng was also too lazy to explain. Otherwise, it would only be more unclear. Who asked Han Bing to say that she was his girlfriend? Not long after, the food and drinks that Xiaoding ordered to buy were all delivered. Several people sat on the balcony and continued to drink. In the end, they began to lose their minds. Yu Kefi took the lead and shouted to Huangpu River, Screw you, I'm going to get married. I wish you live your life in the way you think is right. Xia Ding, I'm going to break through the thousand slaughter. Ha ha. This was what Xia Ding shouted. It was really hateful. Seeing that they also shouted, Chao Yufeng also shouted, Chao Yufeng will definitely make you look at me in a different light. I will. When everyone finished shouting, they looked at Qin Sheng and said, Big brother, you also shout. Yeah, let's vent. Who cares? Chapter 14. A bolt from the blue. Qin Sheng and his grandfather depended on each other since he was a child. Few people could understand Qin Sheng's mood and situation. What he envied most was that other children had a happy family, while he only had a grandfather. So when he found the warmth that he had never had in the Lin family, he was so moved. His grandfather was Qin Sheng's only real family. When his grandfather left, he was really alone. To the Lin family, he just wanted to repay their kindness. When he was a child, Qin Sheng always asked his grandfather where his parents were. As he grew up, he became more and more accustomed to this kind of life, and felt that it was boring to find his parents. He was just glad that he had his grandfather, or he would really become an orphan. In Qin Sheng's eyes, his grandfather was like a high mountain, full of mystery and vicissitudes. He was a serious old man, an old man who was very strict with himself, an old man who could confide in anyone and make them admire him very much. He was an old man who knew everything and had a belly full of wisdom. Qin Sheng's eyes were filled with admiration. Qin Sheng didn't know whether his grandfather grew up with him or he grew old with his grandfather. Until the day his grandfather left, Qin Sheng knew it should be the former. It had been more than 2 years. Today was his grandfather's death anniversary. How could Qin Sheng not remember it? He just silently remembered it in his heart. The moon was round and the wine was mellow. When he was drunk, the unforgettable longing would come to his heart, so he would use all his strength to shout out the words he wanted to say most. The 3 brothers in the dormitory all knew Qin Sheng's family background. They knew that he had no parents and was brought up by his grandfather, so he worked so hard to do part-time jobs in college. At that time, they also said that after graduation, they would go to see the old master and see what kind of old master could cultivate such a Qin Sheng. But Qin Sheng disappeared later, so there was no chance. Boss, what's wrong with Grandpa? Yukefi was stunned for a moment before he came to his senses. At that time, he also said that he wanted to worship the old master as his adopted grandpa and asked Qin Sheng to take him to Zhongnan Mountains to find a master. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly. He left 2 years ago. These words made them completely stunned. They looked at each other, and the atmosphere was a little sad. That was Qin Sheng's only family member. Chao Yufeng directly hugged Qin Sheng and said, Boss, after graduation, only you 3 are still in touch. I recognize you as my boss, not only because you're the eldest, but also because I admire you from the bottom of my heart. Grandpa is gone, but you still have the 3 of us. Yes, boss, you still have the 3 of us. Yukefi and Xia Ding also echoed. The 4 brothers hugged each other and laughed. Let's drink. Let's continue drinking. It was rare for Qin Sheng to be happy, so he had no scruples. The other 3 didn't back down, so they continued to drink. The 4 of them drank until they were unconscious. In the end, they directly fell asleep on the ground, late at night, in the Thompson Golf Villa in Pudong. Han Guoping, whose hair had turned completely white in a short period of time, could not fall asleep. At this moment, he was smoking nonstop in his study. On the table was a bottle of Tinshui special wine that he had treasured for many years. This wine had long been discontinued. He happened to get 2 bottles by chance and had been hiding it, unwilling to drink it. The room was filled with smoke. Han Guoping had no idea how many cigarettes he had smoked during this period of time. He felt as if he had aged a few decades in an instant, like an old man who knew his destiny. This time, it seemed that he was really doomed. Things were getting worse and worse, and he was sinking deeper and deeper. Han Guoping knew that even if he went bankrupt, he could not exchange for half a lifetime of peace. The best ending was to stay in there for more than 10 years. But that was not the ending he wanted. He could not stand that kind of life. Even if he went in, would those enemies let him go? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. From a poor boy in Tianshui, Gansu province, he had enjoyed what he should enjoy and experienced what he should experience. He had no regrets in life. The only thing he was worried about was his daughter. He knew that once he fell, the monkeys would scatter when the tree falls. All the family business that he had accumulated over the years would vanish into thin air. At that time, all of this might crush Hanbing. For so many years, Hanbing had basically not suffered any hardships. She had always lived a peaceful life under his protection. Could she bear all this? But if he did not choose this path, he would probably not even be able to protect her in the end. Those people had attacked him time and time again, which was already a warning. If he really did not make a choice, they might really be unscrupulous. Forget it, forget it. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. He remembered that every time the woman quarreled with him, she would say that she only wanted to live the most ordinary life. Since that was the case, he would do as she wished. Sitting on the sofa, drinking and smoking, Han Guoping continued to recall his life. He owed a lot of people and was also owed by a lot of people. It was estimated that he would not be able to pay them off now. As he thought about it, he thought of the trip to Qinghai, Tibet more than a year ago. The most interesting person he met should be that young man, Qin Sheng. He thought that he was a passerby who had no interaction with him, but he did not expect that he would really come to Shanghai to find him. No matter what his purpose was, Han Guoping was quite optimistic about this young man. Some young people did not lack strength. They just lacked talent scouts and opportunities. If it was 10 years ago, he really did not mind being a talent scout. Unfortunately, there was no chance. When the sky turned white in the east and the red sun gradually appeared, Han Guoping had already finished a bottle of Tianshui special wine and smoked the last cigarette. He slowly got up, opened the safe, and took out the Browning for self-defense. Han Guoping had a complicated look in his eyes as he wiped the body of the gun and skillfully loaded it. Death was standing right in front of him, only separated by a door. He finally mustered up the courage to face everything directly. There was a bang. Everything was settled. Han Guoping used this method to end his life that he did not know how to describe. In the morning, when he woke up, it was already past 9 o'clock. Last night, they drank until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and were still not awake. He got up with a splitting headache and saw the other 3 people on the ground in different postures. He really did not know whether to laugh or cry. Qin Sheng first went to the bathroom to wash his face to wake himself up. Then he picked up his phone and found that there were more than a dozen missed calls, basically from Han Bing, at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. He was slightly confused. Why would Han Bing call him at this time? Could it be that she was in danger? Thinking of this, Qin Sheng had a lingering fear in his heart. He quickly dialed Han Bing's number, but her phone was already turned off. Qin Sheng had no choice but to call other missed calls. Finally, someone picked up. "Are you Qin Sheng?" Before Qin Sheng could speak, the person on the other side asked directly. Qin Sheng frowned and replied, "Yes, who are you?" "I'm Master Han's driver, Chun Bei Ming. Miss wants you to rush back to Thompson Golf Villa as soon as possible." At Thompson Golf Villa, the entire Han family was in a mess. Qin Sheng was puzzled. What happened? "Master Han is dead," Chun Bei Ming said in a low voice. With a bang, Qin Sheng's mind went blank. This news was too shocking, like a bolt from the blue. Han Guoping is dead? At this moment, Qin Sheng had too many doubts, but when he came back to his senses, the call had already been hung up. After calming down, Qin Sheng quickly woke Xia Ding up. Xia Ding asked in a daze, "Boss, what's wrong? Why are you up so early?" "Lao San, I have something urgent to deal with now, so I have to leave first. You guys continue to sleep. Call me when you wake up," Qin Sheng said with a frown. Xia Ding was not awake yet, so he did not ask much and just waved his hand. Thus, Qin Sheng left number 1 Zhongliang Ocean View in a hurry, went out and hailed a taxi, heading straight to Thompson Golf. When Qin Sheng arrived at the Han family, the door was full of cars and the entire villa was filled with bodyguards. Everyone looked serious, always on guard against any outsiders. However, Qin Sheng saw Old Wu, who was still taking care of his plants, as if these things had nothing to do with him. Old Wu also noticed Qin Sheng, but he only took a few glances and continued watering his plants. Qin Sheng nodded and immediately entered the villa. He randomly grabbed a man and asked, "Where's Han Bing?" "Upstairs in the living room," the man said casually. Qin Sheng then went upstairs, but on the way to the living room, he was directly stopped by two men. "Get out of the way," Qin Sheng said angrily. The two men snorted. "No matter who you are, no one can enter." "No way," Qin Sheng snorted. At this moment, a man in black with a crew cut walked over. He looked at Qin Sheng from head to toe and asked, "Are you Qin Sheng? Who are you?" The man said calmly, "I'm Chun Bei Ming. Miss wants you to wait in the study." Thus, Qin Sheng was brought into the study by the man, called Chun Bei Ming. The study was now clean, but there was still a smell of blood. Qin Sheng's eyes looked thoughtful. "How did Master Han die?" Qin Sheng gritted his teeth and asked. This was what he wanted to know the most. Chun Bei Ming replied indifferently, "Suicide." "What? Suicide?" Qin Sheng was shocked again. He originally thought that Han Guoping was killed by his enemies, but he did not expect this to be the result. Chun Bei Ming pointed at the red sandalwood chair beside the desk and said, "Right there, he shot himself." The corner of Qin Sheng's mouth twitched slightly. He stared at the chair, and his eyes gradually dimmed. He was thinking about what exactly happened. What kind of situation would make a big boss like Han Guoping, who had experienced countless storms, finally choose this path of no return? Chapter 15. The Fallen Leaves Return to Their Roots, New Book or Collection. When he was young, Qin Sheng did not understand why his grandfather always brought him to meet a lot of strangers. These people were hidden in the endless Zhongnan Mountains, just like those ancient heroes who cultivated in seclusion. They lived a life of peace and quiet, yet they were extremely mysterious. Every time he met an interesting person, his grandfather could chat with him for the whole day. He remembered that there was an old Taoist priest from Longhu Mountain who lived in the depths of Zhongnan Mountains. Every time they went there, they had to walk for 2 to 3 hours. His grandfather got along well with him and stayed there for 2 to 3 days. As he grew up, Qin Sheng gradually got used to this kind of life. He even liked it a little because these people were quite interesting. There were all kinds of people from all walks of life, ordinary people, office workers, businessmen, officials, gangsters. There were people from all walks of life, and many of them were powerful people. Qin Sheng loved listening to their stories and life experiences. There were some things that he did not understand before, but as he grew up, he understood that these things could not be bought with money. He also understood his grandfather's bitterness and conscience, which made him more mature and steady than his peers. When he met Han Guoping, he knew that Han Guoping was not a simple person. He was not a backpacker who had nothing better to do. He was similar to those people. Sometimes when they were lost and helpless, they wanted to escape from the world. They wanted to calm down and find their true selves. During that period of time, he and Han Guoping had traveled to many places and listened to Han Guoping talk about many things. The two of them had a lot in common. In his eyes, Han Guoping was a ruthless person who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. He had suffered hardships, been looked down upon, betrayed, and plotted against. However, he was able to accept everything calmly and face it head-on. That was why he finally achieved glory and success. However, he never thought that Han Guoping would end up like this. Qin Sheng only came back to his senses when the door of the study room was pushed open. It was Han Bing. She was dressed in plain clothes, and her face was pale. She looked very tired, but her eyes were firm. Since the moment she received the call, she had not shed a single tear. "My lady," Chun Bei Ming lowered his head and greeted her respectfully. With grandfather Han gone, the burden of the Han family was placed on this young woman's shoulders. He was not sure if she could handle it. "You're here." Han Bing looked at Qin Sheng and asked calmly. She did not know why, but after the accident, the person she wanted to see the most was this man whom she had just known for a few days. Perhaps only by his side could she find a most missing sense of security. Qin Sheng didn't know what to say. He wanted to comfort her, but he didn't know what to say. He could only nod awkwardly. Chun Bei Ming said in a low voice, Qin Sheng, Master Han has left, but we still have a lot of things to deal with. So I want you to stay with Miss 24/7 during this period of time. I'm afraid that Miss will be in danger when Master Han leaves, whether it's from those people or our own people. Don't worry, I promised Uncle Han that I would protect Han Bing and not let anything happen to her. Qin Sheng squinted his eyes and said, even if Chun Bei Ming did not say anything, Qin Sheng knew what he had to do. Chun Bei Ming would never doubt someone who was approved by Master Han. He nodded and said, Miss, I'm going to do something first. After Chun Bei Ming left, only Qin Sheng and Han Bing were left in the study. They looked at each other and were speechless. She finally saw Qin Sheng again. She called more than 10 times, but no one picked up. At that time, she was completely flustered. Qin Sheng, I don't have a father anymore, Han Bing suddenly said with red eyes. After she said this, all the strength that Han Bing had in front of others disappeared instantly. Without any warning, she burst into tears and cried unscrupulously. Qin Sheng walked over and hugged Han Bing tightly. Cry. It'll feel better if you cry. Han Bing hated Han Guoping, but no matter what, he was still her father. Han Bing knew that it had not been easy for him all these years, and he had never told her about it. But Han Bing was not stupid. As long as she thought about it, an ordinary poor boy from a village in the northwest had to go through a lot to reach the position that he had today in the bund. Han Bing only hated Han Guoping's attitude towards the family and his indifference to her mother. But no matter what, Han Bing knew that her father loved her the most, more than anyone else. Now, this man who loved her deeply had suddenly left. He even used the most extreme method to end his rushed life. Her mother was gone, her father was gone, and they did not want her anymore. In the future, she would have to walk this long road alone. After some time, Han Bing finally cried enough. Qin Sheng's t-shirt was completely soaked by her tears. I'm sorry, I wet your shirt. Han Bing let go of Qin Sheng and said with some embarrassment. This was the first time she hugged a man and cried. After crying, she felt much better. It's okay. Qin Sheng shook his head. The two of them sat on the sofa and chatted. Qin Sheng stared at the chair thoughtfully and vaguely saw Han Guoping's shadow. Sometimes, death was not scary. What was scary was living. Qin Sheng, I regret not listening to you. I regret not caring about him. I regret not talking to him properly. I regret. Until now, Han Bing finally understood what Qin Sheng said to her that day. Some people and some things, if you don't cherish them now, you might not have the chance to do so in the future. Don't blame yourself. I know that you love him very much. Qin Sheng patted her shoulder and said, I'm so sleepy. I'm really sleepy. I want to sleep. Is this just a dream? Is it a joke played by God? When I wake up, everything will be over. Han Bing said in a daze, if you're sleepy, lean on me and sleep for a while. Qin Sheng knew that Han Bing wanted to avoid everything in front of her, but he knew that there were still many things for Han Bing to face. Thus, Han Bing leaned on Qin Sheng's shoulder, and not long after, she fell asleep. Qin Sheng waited for her to fall asleep, then let her lie on the sofa. This way, she could sleep more comfortably. Coming out of the study, Qin Sheng asked someone to guard the door, and no one was allowed to go in and disturb her. When Han Bing woke up naturally, he found Chun Bei Ming and asked what he could do. Chun Bei Ming did not hesitate and arranged a lot of things for Qin Sheng. At noon, Xia Ding and the others finally woke up, so they called Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng told Chun Bei Ming that he had to go out to do something. When Han Bing woke up, he told her that he would be back soon. When he returned to Xia Ding's house, Yu Kefi and the others were chatting. After seeing Qin Sheng, he smiled and asked, Boss, you ran away early in the morning. Did you do something bad behind our back? Can your thoughts not be so dirty? I haven't seen you for more than 2 years. Who led you astray? Qin Sheng laughed and scolded him. Xia Ding just came out of the shower. Drying his hair, he asked curiously, Boss, what happened? You were in a hurry when you left. Something happened at my friend's house, Qin Sheng said casually. Do you need help? Qin Sheng shook his head. Alas, I'd better drink less in the future. It's really not a good thing. Now I have a splitting headache. I have to rush back to Beijing later. I really envy you three. You can get together at any time in the future. Chow Yufeng stretched and sighed. Second brother, as long as you want to get together, we could go to Beijing at any time. Yu Kefi said happily. Xia Ding said angrily. You are a big talker. You are as busy as a ghost now. Last time I went to Nanjing, I told you in advance, but you still stood me up and said you were not there. I can't help it. Third brother. Sometimes I really want to live a simple life, but how can I do that? It's such a big company. If I don't take care of it, I will be annoyed by the old men's nagging. Yu Kefi said helplessly. Qin Sheng poured a glass of water, walked over, and said, Lao Si is right. Now you all have your own things to do and are busy all day long. But no matter what, as long as you are alive, you should live happily. Don't wrong yourself for others and make your life too tiring. Boss, it's chicken soup for the soul time again. Xia Ding laughed. Chow Yufeng stood up and said, Okay, go out and find a place to have a meal. Lao Si and I have to go home to find our mothers. When we have time, we'll get together again. Go, go, go. I am starving. Xia Ding had already arranged lunch in a nearby restaurant. The food was relatively light. After lunch, the four people hugged and said goodbye. The driver sent Yu Kefi and Chow Yufeng to the high-speed railway station and the airport. Xia Ding looked at Qin Sheng and asked, Boss, where are you going? I will send you. Or if you are free, let's find a place to relax and have a good talk. I have something to do today. Another day, I will ask you out. Then where are you going? I will send you. No, I am nearby, Qin Sheng said casually. Don't be polite with me. Anyway, I am free. Xia Ding directly pulled Qin Sheng out of the car. Qin Sheng had no choice but to let him send him to Thompson Golf. In fact, since last night, Xia Ding had a lot of questions. At this moment, Qin Sheng was going to Thompson Golf. He was more confused about what Qin Sheng was doing now, but he did not take the initiative to ask. After sending Qin Sheng there, Xia Ding left directly. When Qin Sheng returned to the Han's villa, Han Bing was still sleeping. He continued to help with things, such as preparing for Han Guoping's funeral and so on. It was not until 4 o'clock in the afternoon that Han Bing woke up. In the following 3 days, Qin Sheng had been busy helping Han Bing. He saw the weak side of this seductress and also her strong side. He also knew how big Han Guoping's career was and what Han Bing had to face. However, next, Qin Sheng had to accompany Han Bing back to Tianshui, Gansu province. She wanted to send her parents' ashes back to her hometown for burial. This was what Han Guoping had told her before he died. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.